afternoon. Good morning. This is the Wednesday, June 14th morning session of the Portland City Council. We're now in order. Carla, please call the roll.
Fish.
Here.
Saltzman.
Here.
Udaly. Fritz.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge we have a large group of children from the Kairos Portland program with us today. The commissioners and I had an opportunity to meet with, hello up there, had the opportunity to meet with them out in the hallway before we started. They have also created a very, very nice gesture that I'd like to share with everybody in the chamber this morning. They have put together some handmade, beautiful cards, and they are sending their love to the brave people who were involved with the Max train tragedy a couple of weeks ago. And we'll make absolutely certain that these cards get to the right people. And I will tell you, kids, they will come very, very highly appreciated. So thank you so much for this wonderful gesture. It speaks very highly for you and for Kairos, your parents and your teachers. So thank you for that. Before we begin our session, there's a statement that I read about maintaining conduct and order in the chamber. The purpose of council meetings is to do the city's business, including hearing from the community on issues of concern. In order for us to hear from everyone and to give due consideration to matters before the council, we must all endeavor to preserve the order and decorum of these meetings. To make sure that the process is clear, I want to review some of the basic guidelines which I hope will make everybody feel comfortable, welcome, respected, and safe at the meeting, and also to ensure that decorum is maintained. There are two opportunities for public participation. First, we have the opportunity for people to sign up for communications to speak about any subject they'd like to address. These items must be scheduled in advance with the clerk's office. Second of all, people can sign up for public testimony on the first readings of any reports, resolutions, or ordinances. If you sign up, your testimony must address the matter being considered at that time. Please state your name for the record. We don't need people's address. If you're a lobbyist, we do need to know that. And if you're here representing an organization, that's good to know as well. Individuals typically have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When you have 30 seconds left, the yellow light lights up, and when your time is done, the red light goes on. Conduct that disrupts the meeting, for example, shouting or interrupting others' testimony or interrupting during council deliberations, is not allowed. Personal attacks and insults levied against city and council staff, many of whom are required to testify as a condition of their employment, is not tolerated. People who, excuse me, that is, Mimi, that is a disruption, and if you continue, I'll have to have you leave.
I want the police to follow the same rules of law that you ask us to follow as far as conduct in this council. This woman had an assassination attempt by your police.
So if, thank you, Mimi.
Shut her in the mouth.
If there is a disruption, I will issue a warning that if any further disruption occurs, anyone who's disrupting the meeting will be subject to ejection for the remainder of the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave the meeting after being ejected will be subject to arrest for trespass. If folks would like to show your support, a simple thumbs up will do. If you'd like to express that you don't support something, thumbs down. Thank you now, and let's get started. So kids, just FYI, that's not unusual, and you shouldn't be alarmed. That is civil disobedience in action, and you'll learn all about that if you have not already. So with that, we'll continue. The first item on the council agenda is communications. Please call the first item.
Item 656, request of Joe Walsh to address council regarding First Amendment of the Bill of Rights.
Oops. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Before we start, I would request, because I'm having some trouble breathing today, that if I go over the 3 minutes, it's going to be only a few seconds. So it's not very long, and I gave you copies in case I have to stop in the middle. My name is Joe Walsh, and I represent Individuals for Justice. Keith Davis sends his regards, and he wishes he could be here, but is barred from this body by a restraining order instigated by Commissioner Fish and his staff. Now let me go to the First Amendment. It has now been 48 days since we petitioned 4 of you to resign. All 4 of you are now present. And the people have the right and obligation to call for you to step down. You have, of course, refused to honor your position and remain to dictate what you millionaires, white politicians think is correct. And you are wrong. We will be working to defeat for re-election of Danny Boy Salzman, AKA Richie Rich, and Nick Fish, AKA Benedict Arnold. In our opinion, the police department, under the direct command of Mayor Wheeler, AKA Ted the Violent, used excessive force on the 4th of June against innocent people with disabilities, children, and old people who were at Chapman and Lonsdale to show the imported right-wing outright that this city stands for inclusion and not exclusions. Tell me what offense I committed or what law did I break sitting on a park bench when the bombs, chemical attacks, and shootings took place. You violated my peace. You violated the right to peacefully protest against what I consider lies and exclusions. You terrorized me and my friends from the Veterans for Peace. They got me away from the gas because the gas would have done seriously harm to me and could have killed me. You excluded the angels of this city, Teresa Refford, Mimi German, and sitting next to me, Star. And that tells me all about you and your corruptions. Resign now or face the people of Portland when they realize that you 4 and now going on the 5th one. And this will be continued. Thank you for your patience. I would like to say one more thing about the shooting this morning. Again, the congressperson who was shot is somebody that would disagree with me on 99% of issues. However, it broke my heart again because I keep seeing this country falling apart. And unless we all step back, all of us, that's why I wasn't here last week and I won't be here ever again, because I've given up on you. I will be outside with a bullhorn and I will blast you from 9:30 until 11 o'clock every Wednesday. And I will embarrass you until you really start to do things. Mayor, you just wrote a letter to the police chief asking what happened. You were in the command center on the 4th. He wasn't. Why are you sending a letter to him? He should be sending a letter to you saying what happened. You also are doing some good stuff with the homeless. You talk about it and you say it's going to happen, but you're a liar, Mayor. I don't trust you. When you do it, I will sing your praises. The day you actually do something that's significant about the homeless in this city, I will come back and buy you a mocha.
Perfect. Deal accepted. Thank you, sir. I look forward to hearing you sing.
And I like mochas.
Thank you. We'll share one together. Next item, please.
657, request of Sarah Hobbs to address council regarding complaint about rapid response on sidewalks.
Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Sarah Hobbs. I want you to see what I was wearing. This is what I was wearing on May Day. I was told I had to take off the vest when I came into City Hall, but Joe and Mimi Gurman had a good talk with your staff, and I was cleared to wear it. I wanted to start by reading this. This was a communication, Mayor, I left with you dated May 31st. Dear Mayor, took Portland Police Crisis Negotiation Team Sergeant Troy King calling and vouching for me that finally had my messages taken seriously. Contrary to what you were told, there is not a policy in place concerning riot cops on the sidewalks. Apparently, this fact has been brought up at the Portland Police Bureau, and so has the fact that this needs to happen. In light of what happened on May Day, I have been asked to sit in these discussions. The police say we protesters do not talk to cops. They don't talk to us either. Had Sergeant King not called on my behalf, I would have been totally ignored. Talk about anger. The painting of cops and protesters as sole cause of problems is biased and totally unfair. You've heard me tell the story. I was on a sidewalk on Morrison at 2nd. We were ordered by the speaker truck to go west to get out of the area. I'm literally now being pushed, not even a warning they were back there, not even an order to move. Hands literally like this the whole way, going, I'm disabled, I'm going as fast as I can, and they pushed harder. I'm 54 years old. I've birthed big kids. I now have middle-aged female bladder problems. In addition to my back now having ended up in spasm, I'm down kettled on a corner of 3rd and Morris and having wet my pants. For the sole thing that because of my disability, I was moving slow and I just got in their way. We should have the right, when we have done nothing illegal, to expect that we will be safe on a sidewalk. You know, I understand the instant my toes went off into that sidewalk, into that street, I would have been involved in civil disobedience, and I would have been at risk. I have been pushed by riot cops when I have been out on that street, and you have never once heard me complain, because I accept that that's the risk I take when I engage in civil disobedience. But on May Day, I did nothing at all illegal. I was doing what I was ordered and just trying to get out of the area the way we were ordered to go. There is an issue. We still have a right to expect that a sidewalk will be a place of safety. I mean, I got cleared out by 3 truckloads full of riot cops. If Claire's could have killed, we all would have ended up dead. But they left me alone because I was on a sidewalk by myself. I was never expecting what happened to happen by 5.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
Item 658, request of Dominic Kukla to address council regarding civic education.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dominic Kukla. I was raised in Selwood. First off, thank you for your service to the city, and thank you for giving me this time. For the sake of time, I wrote out my statement, and for the sake of attention and entertainment, it is a poem. Tremendous political energy in this city. How will you contribute to transmute it to something pretty? I got involved in politics fast by chance, bumping into a group of those who'd known in advance, listened with wide ears to find out how things are done by locals, here with Portland's million. But relatively few are vocal, much fewer run. In fact, it was the first time I'd met anyone who knew how to do more than vote or protest, talk about a presidential quote. I was empowered to do things like come here to City Hall and listen Seats often empty, work stack always tall. Come into a world where plans are unfurled, and every few moments, there's a new person at ball. So much to do. How can anyone be bored? And why do we feel the need to crowd the streets in scores of thousands? Is that how we do democracy? Reasons to get involved are growing. Are we about to see a change? Certainly. But how will it feel? Civic progress arranged together. The need is real. People want to make a difference, but most don't know how. And whose job is it to tell them what it is about? News just telling us to keep watching TV. Politics make no sense until we listen locally, and not enough of us do. So who's going to teach? I say you. And yeah, you already have. Thank goodness it's true. Office of Citizen Involvement, and others too. But here's the thing. Demand is up. Many hands raised, hungry for something to pick up. New leaders emerging, ideas range. The thing that is consistent is the need for change. I hope the next time you see a mob, you'll remember that they're asking for an unpaid job. Revolutionary energy across the nation. Who's going to lead the way in civic education? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item, please, Carla.
Item 659, request of Matthew Macetic to address council regarding the great work of the Portland Bureau of Transportation with the continuing challenges of the Foster streetscape.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm a little envious of the poem. That was great.
That was good.
Yeah, I've never heard that before in council. But yeah, so my name's Matthew Macetic. I own and operate Red Castle Games on Southeast Foster Road. I'm also the president of the Foster Area Business Association. And I'm here today just to talk about the Foster streetscape, which this council approved 3 years ago, almost to the day. And it's certainly been a longer process than we all hoped, like many major projects are. But I really want to emphasize how great a job PBOT has done in reaching out and working with us and continuing that work past the planning stages. It started out with Mauricio Leclerc during those planning stages, but it's really been picked up by Rich Newlands, the project manager with PBOT. When we had a concern as a business organization about the bike route and connecting to the 50s bikeway, he came out, he met with our business owners, and they did their best, and they were able to change that route slightly to really benefit the businesses. Likewise, as issues have come up with drainage, we thought we were going to lose as many as 40 on-street parking spots, but through their hard work, they've limited it to about 4 to 6 spaces, so they've really come out, gone above and beyond, and addressed the concerns of the business community on Foster, and I really feel they should be recognized for that great work, because the communication, the working together, the willingness to come meet us and hear us, and not just listen, but also take our concerns and put them into action, it's a model for how these projects could go, and I really appreciate that, and I wanted you all to know how great of a job they're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate hearing. Next item, please.
660, request of George Middle School 6th grade students to address council regarding the 3D map project.
Morning, kids. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, morning. Morning. So we worked with an organization called Wind and Oar at George Middle School.
And I'm really sorry. Could you state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Darcy Gill. I'm their teacher at George Middle School. So we worked with an organization, Wind and Oar, who are here to create a 3D map of St. John's with the 6th graders in the Intro to STEAM class, and these are 8 of the kids that worked on the map. It took the whole year, and it's upstairs on the 3rd floor if anybody wants to go check it out. It's 8 by 8 feet wide, pretty heavy, so it's a fun job moving it here, but it's done. Do you guys have any questions you want to ask the kids about it, or I can ask them?
Yes, I had a chance to look at it yesterday, and I looked at it a little bit this morning as I was coming in. How long did it take you to make that? It looked
about
like
2 semesters.
2 semesters. And it even has little bridges. And what are they made of?
Well, we built
Cardboard, popsicle sticks, and
toothpicks,
hot
glue
glue,
gun.
lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff. It looked like lots of stuff. And when you finished it, what was the most surprising thing to you? What did you learn?
How it looked. We learned a lot of stuff, like how to measure, make sure things are to a right, like not too big, not too small. Things like that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a problem if one side of the bridge is bigger than the other, right? And so you learn proportionality and how to measure things. And what about just in terms of the topography, in terms of whether it was flat or not flat? Did anything surprise you about the neighborhood?
Well, we had to study the map of Portland. We had to really dig deep into all of the topography and vegetation.
Did anything surprise you guys about the elevation?
Just
That
how weird it is. Like when you look at it with normal eyes, like just standing on the road, it doesn't look like much. But then when you look at the map, you can see just how crazy it is.
And you sure notice that if you're on a bicycle going through the bicycle lanes, all of a sudden you realize, wow, it's a really hilly neighborhood.
It took a lot of elevation. First it was confusing, but then when you finish it, it's huge. And you had to kind of double it, so it doubled in size.
Oh, that's
Lots
great.
of paper mache.
Yes.
And styrofoam. Right, styrofoam. Got in my ears, my nose.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner.
Based on the great work these young people did and their obvious interest in the city and the natural environment, how many of you would consider a career working for the city someday?
I'm not sure.
First ask if he's hiring.
We may have some work to do here, but
So could each of you lean into the microphone and tell both the people here and the people at home what your names are, please?
Well, my name's Emma Arnold.
My name is Jaden Quintanilla.
My name is George Robinson.
My name is Fatima Ali. My name is Enrique Alexaderas.
I'm Annika Anderson. And I'm Damian Cook.
Well, thank you for coming to tell us about your project, and thank you for working hard all year at school. I know
Thank
you'll
you.
be having a good summer and get back to it again in the fall. Thank you.
Say, one more question. How much longer do we get to have the display here in City Hall?
Peter?
Several weeks. So I would encourage people, it's on the 3rd floor of Portland City Hall. It's really exciting. It's a great effort on the part of these kids. I want to thank you. I want to thank your teachers and your parents for sharing it with us. It's really exciting. Thanks for coming in. Very good. So on the consent agenda, Carla, as I understand it, we have pulled 664, 665, 666, 667, 669, 670, 671, 672, 676, 678. Those have all been pulled, is that correct?
Correct.
Very good. So could you call the roll on the remainder?
Mayor, just
Commissioner
another
Fish.
housekeeping matter. 664, 666, and 667 will all be heard together.
That is correct. So
And can we hear those at the beginning of the agenda, the regular agenda?
If there's no objection, that would be absolutely fine with me. And then just by way of,
Also,
wait, so let me tell you the housekeeping ones I know, just so we can do that. Commissioner Fish with 664, 666, 667. We'll do those before the time certain's. Carla?
No, after the time certain, before
After
the
the
regular
time
agenda.
certains.
And it's
Okay,
a
ahead of the regular.
very brief presentation.
Okay, that's good. And then it's my understanding, Commissioner Saltzman, you'd like to pull 678 and move it to after 663, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so we can do that, Carla, so we'll do 663 immediately after 678, because the staffing on that is aligned, and the others are pretty straightforward. So with that, we'll go to the first time, call the roll on the remainder of the consent agenda, please.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The consent agenda is adopted, so we'll move to the first time certain item 661. Thanks, kids. Appreciate it. Thank you. Carla, could you call 661, please?
661, amend code to allow Green Street stewards to remove sediment from and plant vegetation in public Green Street facilities and to discourage removal of dead plantings.
Commissioner Fish.
Thank you, Mayor and colleagues. The streets of Portland are now filled with small green spaces, which we call Green Street facilities, including bioswales, planters, and rain gardens that store and absorb rain or stormwater that runs off our streets. Green streets are an economical and beautiful addition to our city. They keep stormwater out of the public sewer system, reduce the need for more pipes, save ratepayers money, while also greening our neighborhoods and reducing heat island impacts. We're fortunate to have nearly 2,000 Green Street facilities in our city. While the Bureau of Environmental Services is responsible for maintaining green streets, the Green Street Stewards program offers Portlanders the opportunity to volunteer and keep our green streets working effectively and looking good. Currently, we have over 150 stewards helping to maintain 360 facilities. Based on the feedback we've received from the community, including our stewards, we're proposing today 3 small code changes, which will remove some barriers and broaden the range of activities that Green Street stewards can engage in. With the code changes, we are reintroducing the program and encouraging more people to sign up. Now I'd like to introduce Amy Chomowitz and Svetlana Pell from the BES Green Street Stewards Program to give us a brief presentation on the program and the proposed changes. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Fish.
Oh, by the way, I should say that we do have a letter. Mike Houck has submitted a letter on behalf of the Urban Green Spaces Institute in support of this application.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Amy Chomowitz, and as Commissioner Fish said, I'm Program Manager for the Bureau of Environmental Services. And first, I want to thank you for allowing us time on your agenda. We know you're busy with many things, and we do appreciate your time. I'm going to provide some background on Green Street facilities and the ordinance with the code changes. Svetlana is going to talk about the Green Street Stewards Program, and we have some invited public comment as well. So just some background. Green streets are bioswales or even street gardens, as some people call them, manage stormwater runoff from paved surfaces such as streets and sidewalks, and they do this sustainably. So green streets, they collect runoff and infiltrate it into the ground, and they provide many benefits for the community and for the city. They add vegetation to our neighborhoods, which is good for human health and good for watershed health. They reduce pollution reaching the Willamette River and our smaller streams. And they are part of the city's efforts to control combined sewer overflows. And the way they do this is by reducing the amount of water or runoff that enters into our pipe system. And by doing that, they preserve capacity of our pipe system. And this can also help save ratepayer dollars. Just one example of saving ratepayer dollars is the Tabor to River program. And this project entailed replacing aging and undersized pipes. And we could have used a completely gray system or gray solution to resolve these issues, but instead we combined gray with green streets. And in doing so, we saved ratepayers $63 million.
I'm sorry, what's a gray solution?
Oh, that's a pipe solution. So pipes under the ground, laterals, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Pipes and pumps, things like that. Sorry. So as Commissioner Fish mentioned, we have about 2,000 Green Street facilities in the city right now. By 2025, we expect to have about 2,300 facilities. And with so many green streets, we recognize that there's a growing maintenance responsibility for the Bureau. And the Green Street Stewards Program helps us engage the community in helping us to maintain these facilities. So what we're here today to ask you is to consider changes to the code that will allow greater flexibility for our stewards. And the first change will allow stewards to remove sediment from the facilities.
I'm sorry, there is a slide missing. In your packet, you have our PowerPoint presentation, and there is a slide with the proposed code changes in it. Sorry about that.
How would people remove the sediment and what would they do with it?
They will, thanks, good question. So first, sediment collects in facilities in relatively small amounts, and this is what we want the facilities to do, because it keeps that sediment then from going into our rivers and streams. So it's very simple. They could take a small shovel or a trowel, scoop it up, wearing gloves, and put it in a plastic bag and dispose of it in just the regular garbage.
So it goes in the trash, it doesn't go in the compost or anything?
It doesn't go into the compost, no. Also, I'll just mention that Svetlana is the Green Street Stewards Coordinator. She provides one-on-one training for stewards, and so handling sediment is one of the things that she would talk about, and of course, adopting safe practices. The second change will allow stewards to plant additional vegetation in facilities that they adopt. And the third change is a little bit different. It actually removes language that currently allows volunteers to remove vegetation that appears dead. So sometimes vegetation can appear dead when it's really dormant. So we'll leave that to our professional maintenance crews to manage those plants. So these changes are small, but they're important, and we're using the code changes as an opportunity to reintroduce the Green Street Stewards program to the community. So now Svetlana is going to tell you more about the program.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. This is the correct slide now that you see. The goal of the Green Street Steward program is to engage the residents, business owners, and nonprofit organizations in the care of Green Street facilities. By being involved, our stewards will develop a sense of ownership of the green infrastructure and understanding of what the green streets are doing for the stormwater management, watershed health, and livability in their neighborhoods. Engaging community in stewardship activity has a potential to decrease the amount of time that Bureau crew need to visit individual facility. And these are some of the examples of resources that we provide to our stewards. As a volunteer, I'm not sure what's going on, but every single slide is not present correctly.
But the packets.
But the packet's correct. As a volunteer coordinator, my job is to educate the public about green infrastructure and encourage their participation in the Green Street Steward program. I do this through tabling at different events throughout Portland, taking community to the bike or walking tours of green infrastructure, and organizing cleanup events. As volunteers, the Green Street Stewards are helping the city by performing simple activities that include removing trash and debris from inlets to preserve the capacity for the facility, weeding and watering in the summer. With the code changes, volunteers will also be able to remove the sediment and add additional plants. I would like to emphasize that idea for these code changes came from current stewards. An adoption of these changes would open additional opportunities for the community to engage in stewardship and develop a sense of ownership for the facility they adopt. As I mentioned, the Green Street Steward program building relationships with nonprofits and business owners and residents. And here's the example of the cleanup event we had with a partnership from the Surfrider Foundation and the Widmer Brother Brewery, where in 2 hours we collected 75 gallons of trash and 2 gallons of cigarette butts. Wow. We also found that free beer and snacks after the cleanup provide the opportunity for us to meet new stewards and have fun. Currently, we have 150 volunteers looking after 360 facilities. As Amy mentioned, we are expecting the number of green streets to continue increase, so we need to promote the program and feel that the code changes can do that for us. This pilot project is the example of how we would use the code changes and work with the community to enhance this type of green streets. We call them grassy swales. This particular project was done in collaboration with the Green Lents, a nonprofit in Lents neighborhood. Green Lents worked with the community to find out if people will be interested in working with the city, and in the end we were able successfully to enhance 3 facilities by replacing grass with pollinator-friendly vegetation and at the same time provide better-looking green streets in Lents neighborhood. And for the future, with these code changes, we can reintroduce the program in a way that we know will attract more community members. We will do this using social media campaign by creating partnerships with businesses and individuals by focusing in East Portland. Now I would like to provide you with testimony for the program. We have enclosed 2 letters of testimony in your packet, one from Mike Hauk, the Executive Director of Urban Green Spaces Institute, and the other one from Julia Person, Sustainability Manager at Widmer Brother Brewery. And in the interest of time, I will read the shorter one. Testimony to the Council, City of Portland. Widmer Brother Brewing supports the Green Street Steward program. As one of the longest-running and largest brewery in the region, we are committed to support our local communities and the environment through our sustainability efforts. With the help of the Green Street Steward program, we have become caretakers of 7 Green Street facilities in our neighborhood and are filtering pollutants from stormwater to protect the watershed that is critical to making great beer in Portland. Our employees volunteer their time for cleanup events, and we have partnered with our community organizations, such as Portland Surfrider Chapter. Widmer Brother Brewing would love to see the important Green Street Steward program continue to be funded and grow. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. Please reach out with any questions. Julia Person, Sustainability Manager at the Widmer Brewery.
Any questions for us?
Okay. Now I would like to invite Linda Nedakoven, Sydney Mead, and In Kennelly to provide their testimonies for our program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Morning. Sure. My name's Ian Kennelly. I'm a volunteer with the Portland chapter of the Surfrider Foundation. It's an international nonprofit, and we care about water quality. We do a lot of beach cleanups. We do cleanups upstream here in Portland on the Columbia River. We also go out to the coast. And one of our best partners that we've had since 2011 has been BES and the Green Street Stewards program. We oftentimes try to lure volunteers with commitments that aren't too heavy or time intensive, and Green Streets has been one of the best that we have for bringing in new volunteers. So once a month we get together. We start at my house the first Tuesday of the month, and we pick up trash and clean out bioswales on Northeast Alberta Avenue. It's a really great way to meet people, and we've really seen an incredible effect by doing this in the same place over and over again. Northeast Alberta, or at least our little stretch of it, is a lot cleaner. BES has just been a really incredible partner with the Surfrider Foundation. Svetlana specifically has outfitted us with these very snazzy vests, as you can see here. And one of our bigger incentives is that everyone gets this awesome grabber to help pick up trash, which is a lot of fun. And I also wanted to talk quickly about some of the cool partnerships we've had with local breweries. They mentioned one with the Widmer Brothers. Tomorrow we actually have an event at 5:30 p.m. with Alameda Brewing. So we'll be picking up trash on Northeast Fremont Avenue. And all of you are welcome. I believe you'll find this flyer in the packet. Actually, anyone here is welcome to come. It's a free event. They'll have free refreshments and food afterwards. So once again, I just really wanted to say what an amazing partnership this has been, and I really hope it continues on into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Linda.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commission members. Thanks for the opportunity to speak in support of this excellent program. My name is Linda Netherkoven. I live in the Hosford-Abernathy neighborhood, and I'm a founding member of the Division Vision Coalition, which began working to transform Southeast Division way back in 2001, trying to make it a green Main Street. And I'm here today, again, to support the ongoing efforts in this direction. We began advocating for bioswales and other green features before they were trendy, or most people had even heard of them, aside from city staff and other visionaries here in Portland. And we even worked with BES to prepare a self-guided walking tour of the bioswales in the neighborhood when they were sort of popping up early days. We're obviously, as Amy's pointed out, very aware of the functions that the bioswales offer our neighborhoods. The ones that especially we wanted to comment on today are their potential to educate people as to why we have bioswales, what these features are about, and that speaks to the need for signage. I've been thinking Burma shave signs. I know we have some official approved signage that already exists, but we're hoping that we can, again, spur creative thinking for more of that in the future. The other is the issue of adding attractive plantings to a Main Street environment, or any neighborhood environment for that matter. And so, since I'm close to Division, we're looking ahead to see what we can expect from the Green Stewardship Program in the future. We're finding ourselves without adequate maintenance of our bioswales at the moment, partly due to some contracting issues and other challenges in their installation. But the fact that the bioswales aren't attractive means that they not only don't contribute to livability, they actually undermine it. And so I really want to stress the need for adequate resources for this program. It's really important. It really makes all the difference in terms of, I think, the community's acceptance of other green features going forward. We want to demonstrate what an amenity they can be. So as I mentioned, we're looking forward to the continuation of the written materials for potential volunteers, some new signage for our bioswales, and then the option that we're excited about of having the stewards having some opportunity to choose some additional plants, carefully in keeping with a plant list or other guidelines that the Bureau has put in place. But that, again, contributes to that ownership feeling that this is my bioswale, and not only am I keeping it clean and working, but also I have a little bit of say in terms of some additional plants that could be planted there. I think Sydney's going to cover the role that the Business Association is going to play in the future as this partnership continues on Division Street.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Sydney Mead. I'm with Habitat Property Management and a board member for the Division Clinton Business Association. And in the last couple years, we've actually had a great opportunity to partner with Sylvania and the folks from Surfrider and even Solve together on cleanup programs in our street and in the bioswales. We're very supportive of the transformation that's happened on Division Street, and part of that transformation and the vibrancy that we're seeing for our little Main Street in Division has been around the trees and the plantings and the bioswales. I think when you visualize a vibrant retail and business core, what you're visualizing is something that is well maintained, has plants, and has a vibrant community. And I think that these bioswales actually have the ability to do that. We've had a lot of challenges with them. Again, as Linda alluded to, there are some issues with the contracting. But we are hopeful that with the correct resources, we can maybe correct some of the plantings and get some of the dead vegetation out of there. And then have the type of bioswale that can be a real asset for the city and for the program moving forward. What I would encourage, what I have really seen is with the cleanups and trash pickups, there's a real sense of community. People enjoy getting out and having a say and being involved in their community. But there is also a sense of frustration that there are not enough resources to care for these bioswales. And I would just encourage, if a stormwater facility or a factory had been built, there would be maintenance funds for it. So I would make sure that this program, even though it's not a physical warehouse or plant, it has adequate maintenance dollars to make sure that it's successful.
Let me just say, if I can, to both you and to Linda, having worked with both of you over a long period of time on the Division Street reconstruction, and it was a fantastic collaboration between the Neighborhood Association, the Business Association, PBOT, BES, and others. I'm chagrined to hear about the frustrations you felt with some of the bioswales, because they were a controversial component of the overall design. So you have my commitment. We'll take a close look at how we can get in front of those problems, because we did make a commitment that they would be operational and functioning. And so we'll figure out what the problem is and get back to you. But I appreciate you sharing those concerns.
And just from our side, the part-time staff member for the Division Clinton Business Association has already, pledged that she's willing to carry the word on her appointed rounds on the street. She's also a building manager, so she knows the other building managers there, and is hoping again to be able to reach out to residents so that we've got an extra big pool of people to draw from for potential stewards. So we're optimistic and looking forward to
I may even ride my bike up Division over the weekend just to get a closer look. But thank you. We'll get back to you with a solution, and I really appreciate your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other invited panel members?
That's it, Mayor.
Very good. So, folks, we had a busy agenda to start with. We've had 10 items pulled off the consent agenda, so I'm going to ask people to keep testimony within 2 minutes. That's the same amount granted by the legislature. I won't be crazy about it, but if we can just be as concise as possible. Is there any public testimony on this item?
Yes, we have one person signed up, Star Stoffer.
Come on up.
She's right outside.
Here she is.
Star, you're up.
Good time.
Wow, that was really good timing. Star Stoffer. One of the things that I mean, I'm all for green streets. I mean, obviously, one of the things that makes Portland great is its green streets. But again, where's the representation from the communities of color in this initiative? What? Why is it just? I mean, do you think black people don't like clean streets? That maybe they don't have some kind of an input here? Why have they not been invited to the table on this? Why in that picture of their little beer party was there one black person? That means they're not going out into these communities and offering them the key to activation, which again, white people are the gatekeepers. They gotta wait for them to go to the neighborhoods and offer them a key to be activated and get involved in this. But they don't invite them. But they come up here and they ask for money and they say they care about community, white communities. That's crap. Where the hell is the representation of people of color in their supposed green and wonderful organization? Every single week, it's another group after another group after another group coming up here. They're white, asking for money. And they say they care about communities, yet I never see people of color represented. Shame on you. Why don't you get yourselves out there and activate in communities where there's people of color? Give them some money to make their neighborhoods cleaner and safer and more livable for their children so that they have a chance to thrive, survive, and be healthy. Be included. That's why I hate the word diversity and inclusion. Because you're the ones with your white faces, their white faces. Yes, I know I'm white for all the people that feel the need to point that out. No kidding. Why do you think I call out other white people? Telling people of color, here, we're going to invite you. That should be a foregone conclusion. This is shameful. You don't care about community. You care about white people.
There you have it. Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions from the City Council? Hearing none, this is the non-emergency reading of a first ordinance. It moves to second reading. Next item, please, 662.
grant a revocable permit valid from July 1, 2017 to June 30, 2022 to Metro to close Southwest Main Street between Southwest Broadway and Southwest.
Excuse me, this is an interruption in violation of council rules. If you continue, you'll be asked to leave.
And Southwest Park Avenue East to accommodate specified temporary uses and activities within the right-of-way and waive fees.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Carl Lyle with the Spectator Venues Program at the Office of Management and Finance. I have with me Executive Director of the Portland 5 Centers for the Arts, Robin Williams.
And I'm sorry, I actually wanted to introduce this. I got sidetracked. I first of all want to start out by thanking you and thanking the work that OMF and the Fire Bureau and PBOT have done putting this this ordinance to the council, and I appreciate it. It's going to ensure that Portland 5 can continue to close Southwest Main Street as they have for many, many years in the interest of public safety, and also to be able to hold the many wonderful events that are marquee events throughout the summer. Southwest Main Street and Portland 5 are generally great community assets, and the city's been very happy to partner with them as owners of the theater buildings and as the streets. So you've already introduced yourself. I'll let you continue, but I want to welcome you and thank you for being here today.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll just give a very brief overview of what this ordinance is, kind of how we got to this point, and then Robin can talk a little bit about how important it is for the operations of Portland 5 venues and the activities they have. This is about Southwest Main Street, and I do have one slide for this because this is a case where a picture is probably worth at least 1,000 words. But what we're talking about is Southwest Main Street between Broadway and the Park Blocks, and as you know, it's between the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall and Antoinette Hatfield Hall, two city-owned facilities that are operated by the Portland 5 as part of Metro. These improvements, it's a unique street, right? And it has special plantings and pavings, and it has bollards and automatic gates that allow the street to be easily closed, both to improve public safety when there are events and lots of pedestrians involved with events in the theater buildings, but also for events in that street. It was designed and developed when Antoinette Hatfield Hall opened in the late 1980s, I think 1987, and it's been pretty successful ever since. The actual sort of rules and permitting and regulations about that street, because it remains a City of Portland right-of-way, a piece of actual street, have become pretty complicated over time and have been governed by a series of different ordinances granted by the council, but also administrative permits related to uses and various different things over time. Really, in the course of kind of going through that process or beginning to enter that process of conversations about how to allow the closure excuse me, of the street for the regular events, we realized in working with our partners at Transportation, and we do have staff here if there are any questions for Transportation as well, that it would be beneficial to consolidate those various different permits and clarify exactly what was allowed and what could be allowed, and do it for a longer time period rather than just one or two events at a time. So that's really what you have. We worked closely with the PBOT staff, both in permitting group, Rich Eisenhower, and also the traffic engineering folks, Carl Snyder, and they're both here if there are questions, and with the Fire Bureau, who has a role in ensuring public safety during events and closures as well. And what we've come up with is this revocable permit, which would be valid for 5 years, and allow essentially the Portland 5 to continue operating the street, closing it regularly for both improving public safety, emergencies, but also allowing events in the street, and then increasing safety when there are lots of things and people happening and going back and forth between the two theater buildings adjacent to that street. So it's not really a change in existing practices. It's kind of a housekeeping measure that clarifies the intent and the importance of their ability, Portland 5's ability, to use that street, and continues it for a period of 5 years. So with that, I'll turn it over to Robin.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. It's been a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to close Main Street in conjunction with some of the things that we do at Portland 5 venues. Certainly the safety aspect of being able to keep our patrons and certainly all the children that come to our student events safe is really, really important to us. But we have found Main Street to be an important tool to us to provide free programming that we can open up to the entire community. In a way, we believe it allows our buildings to kind of open their arms more. When we started I believe we're on our 11th or 12th year with our Music on Main free concert series once a week through the summer. And prior to that, our Summer Arts on Main program, which starts around the noon hour in conjunction with the farmers market. And we use that opportunity to bring in local arts organizations, smaller organizations that don't get an opportunity to perform in our building and don't get it in front of a downtown audience all the time. So it's a great opportunity to bring them in. Our volunteers run a program of free arts activities for any children that come down during this time period. We have a partnership with the farmers market to do vegetable car races and all kinds of really fun activities at lunch. Then we segue into the evening where we present local musicians. We raise the funds to pay these musicians so that we are supporting local performers. But we offer this program for free. And I have a friend who lives in Section 8 housing a couple blocks away. And she told me how important it was for us to have these events so her residents could come down and sit. There's no obligation to buy anything or pay any money, and you get this free activity. And I think that's a very important part of who we are and who we have become. When we made the name change to Portland 5, it was because we really want to be Portland's performing arts center, and Main Street's become a real important part of that for us to be able to continue doing that. We very much appreciate this partnership with the city over the past 30 years and the ability to continue doing this well into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I would just add one more thing. You'll notice that there is an emergency clause in this ordinance, and that's because the first of the annual Music on Main Wednesday event is scheduled to happen
July 5th.
July 5th. So we need to get this taken care of.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions? Is there a public testimony on this item?
We have 3 people signed up.
Very good. If you just hang out for a minute.
Star Stoffer, Robert West, and Joe Walsh.
Good morning, Star Stoffer. Again, I have the same question. Where is the representation of the Black community to sit up here and talk about this art program? What? I mean, I know it sounds like a broken record, but quite frankly, racism is a broken record. And this is ridiculous. So who's the performers that are going to be paid? Are any of them Black? Is the art that's going to be up going to represent the historical struggle of Black people? I mean, are we going to educate this racist community with white hate crimes happening literally every single day now? I mean, even you have acknowledged the rise in white hate crimes. So are we going to actually stand as a community? I mean, if you're going to use that word community, I hate to break it to you, but that includes Black and brown people. So if you talk about community, why are they not being represented when we live in a city that is, number one of the most racist in the country, and number 2, one of the highest for white hate crimes in the country right now? There better be some education for people of color, or that stuff, it might get shut down. I don't know. I can't say how people in the city will react. They're pretty pissed. I mean, they're tired of, being marginalized by white people. They're tired of white voices drowning out their voices while they're being killed and maimed in the streets. So where's the education on that? Or is this just more celebrating white people with white money and their white privilege having a permit to shut down an entire street to pat themselves on the back and call themselves a community? That is shameful, shameful, shameful. No KKK, no USA. You know what I'm saying? This is disgusting. I'm sick and tired of seeing these white groups get up here without any representation from the Black community and speaking about community. We're tired of hearing their voices. We want to hear the voices of people of color coming up here, not just being invited, but being allowed to help lead. And I hate to use that word allow, but when white supremacy rules everything, what other word is there? Shameful.
Thank you.
Oh, you're not welcome.
My name is Bob. I'm with Film the Police. And I find it really interesting that you guys want to grant extended permits for yuppie stuff and people with money. But when it comes to areas like street parties and stuff in Northeast Portland or protests, you guys want to charge the protesters a lot of money and other people in the street parties and stuff a lot of money to shut down the street. And these people don't have a lot of money. You know, what you're doing is financially unfair to the disadvantaged people. I think what it is if you grant these people a permit, then you need to remove the money at things from the permit system and allow people to get permits without having to pay for them. And allow protests without riot cops coming in and beating people up and kettling them and gassing them. That was really bad. You want to close down a street so yuppies can have parties for a year, 5 years, whatever. But when it comes to a protest where people are tired of racism in their city, you want to kettle them and gas them. And you call that all right? That's shameful. That's why you're seeing all these anti-racist stuff. I sat there and watched the Portland police go up to a Muslim house on a welfare check on a guy, right? And as soon as they found out there was children in there, the police wanted to know the names and ages of every one of those children, because the guy supposedly doesn't live there, and the lady was on welfare. So they wanted to do that so they could notify CPS of what was going on.
Thank you.
And the Muslims were black.
Okay, I'm sorry, sir, your time is up. Thank you. Mr. Walsh?
Good morning. My name is Joe Walsh. For the record, I represent Individuals for Justice. One of the things I can't figure out is why Metro is asking you to waive the fees. I mean, Metro has some bucks. So why are they asking you to waive the fees? And what kind of fees are we talking about? If they want them waived, it must be significant. And if they got the money, they ought to pay. I think it's a great idea to close the streets, and I think what the other speakers are trying to tell you is this year, 2017, is the beginning of people going before city councils and school boards and saying, hey, folks, do your job. That's what we're demanding. And we have a right to do that if you read the First Amendment. The last line says, I have a right to petition my government. And that's what we do, whether you like it or not. Do your job. And people are crying out to you. Go into the community. Teresa Rufford is sitting here. Get together with her and say, okay, how can we help you? That's your job. Hi, Joe Walsh. How can we help you? That's your job. And that's why we get so angry with you. Metro's got money. Why are you waiving the fees for Metro? That's what we're asking you. And how much are you waiving? Is it $10 or $10 million? I don't know. Do you?
Thank you.
Hi. It's $1,200 a year.
Mary Sipe. I don't consider myself a yuppie. I am white. I'm low income. Without this program, it would be very, very unusual for me to get to enjoy the entertainment that they provide. I can't afford to even go to a movie theater. And so the programs like this that the city provides, I get to take advantage of. My neighbors get to take advantage of it. I've been going to these concerts for years. I see a diverse audience. I see diverse groups that perform. And I do understand the concerns about waiving the fees. To me, I think the thing that needs to be balanced is, are these fees going to cost so much that they can no longer do this. I think that's an important consideration. I do have concerns when I see one city agency collecting fees from another city agency for different permits, and I think that's something that we need to look at. I know that the Noise Control Office has a program with the city parks for all of the multiple events that they have, and they wrap it up into one permit and charge one fee. And so maybe not waive the fee, but condense the fee. But in any event, I just want to say that without this type of program, there are a lot of people in the city that would never get to enjoy these events or see these performers ever. So, thank you.
That's correct. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super Watchdog X. Again, the amount of the fee was addressed at $1,200 per year, and I do agree with the other speakers that that shouldn't be waived to Metro. And it's my understanding that the permit we're talking about is to Metro for their use of 20 times per year with an extension of, I believe, 10 more times with a written approval. Now, my big issue on here is these are city-owned buildings, and I don't think the city should own these buildings. I don't think the city of Portland should be in the performing arts venues business. I think these should be sold out to private investors. The reason why I say that is I always thought the Arlene Snitzer Concert Hall, which I know Jordan Snitzer, was owned by the Snitzers. Now, I'm kind of surprised on that. I'd like to actually see this sold to the Snitzers. Let them own this building. Why you're in the real estate business, holding business, is beyond me. Why you think you're a land banking institution is beyond me. Why you think you're a philanthropist is beyond me. All conflicts of interest, and I hope that somebody pursues this and lets you understand you're not in the real estate business, okay? And these should be sold to the private sector. The private sector should have control of this. And again, as far as on Metro being able to consolidate all the permits and waive the fees, I think is inappropriate, and it shouldn't happen like that. So again, put these buildings up for sale, get out of the real estate business, land banking business, let the private sector have their properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, colleagues, comments? I will just say this. Well, I shall say it during my vote. Please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Britt. Udaley.
I'm very happy to support this item. It's wonderful that we have free programming for the public, and these are great spaces that also provide opportunities for culturally specific organizations, provide access for low-income audience members, and just back after a week gone, and I'm feeling highly amused by some of this testimony. Aye.
Fritz.
Well, thank you very much to Metro and to the Portland Five for managing these city assets for us so that everybody can enjoy them. And I agree that the lots of people of all kinds come to the concerts and other events in that space, and it obviously makes a lot of sense to consolidate all the permits so you cut down on paperwork and time spent doing fairly routine things. So also thanks to Janine Gates on my staff who had it in my notes about how much the permit fees being waived is. Aye.
Wheeler.
I believe it is absolutely critical that these venues and arts and culture be accessible to everybody in our community. And so I'm a little surprised by some of the testimony that seems to suggest either people don't understand that this is about access, in many cases for free, for people in our community to be able to participate in activities that in other cities cost a lot of money. in order to be able to participate in them. And I want to thank the various groups and organizations that actively participate in the planning and the running of these events with the clear intention of including the community broadly. So I am very happy to support this, and I encourage everybody I think one of the most exciting things is when they have the noon concerts. I think those are great on a beautiful day. Anybody who wants to come can show up, bring your bag lunch or whatever, and enjoy it. So I'm all for it. Thank you. Aye. The ordinance is adopted. The permit is approved. Next item, please. We're going to do 663 and then move on to 668, please.
663, approve funding recommendations.
Excuse me, this is a disruption in violation of the council policies. If you do not stop, I will ask you to leave. Please have her removed. Next item, please.
663, approve funding recommendations made by the Children's Levy Allocation Committee for July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2019.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Another day in paradise. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Commissioner Saltzman. Excuse me. Excuse me.
You think that's smart?
Commissioner Saltzman,
Thank you,
sorry
Mayor.
for the interruption.
Excuse me. This year, the Portland Children's Levy marks its 15th year of serving the city's children and families. Since 2002, the levy has strengthened our community by helping thousands of children from birth through age 24 to achieve their potential. We have done this through increasing children's access to proven programs that provide positive early childhood development assistance, school engagement and academic achievement, high school graduation assistance, family safety and stability services, and we are very thankful to Portland voters who have chosen to make children a priority each time the levy has come before them. We're gratified by our community's confidence that the levy is empowering not just children, but parents and caregivers to become more skilled at advocating for their children in the classroom and in life. Today, Lisa Hansel of the Children's Levy staff is here to present to us a request for the council to approve about $32 million of investments over the next 2 years made by the Children's Levy Allocation Committee. These investments will provide a smoother route to kindergarten through early childhood programs, safe and high-quality after-school and mentoring programs that will now run through the summer, strong community connections and transition assistance for children in foster care, programs to help children overcome the trauma of abuse and neglect, and parenting classes and respite care for families struggling with violence. Also, healthy and nutritious meals for children to address the dire hunger problem in Portland, where more than 12,000 children in the city rely on emergency food boxes each month for their basic sustenance. I'll turn it over to Lisa to speak, make the presentation, then we do have some invited panelists I'll also call up. So Lisa Hansel.
Thank you, Commissioner Saltzman. My name is Lisa Hansel, and I'm a grant manager for the Children's Levy. I'm here today to request City Council approval of the Allocation Committee's recommendations to fund investments totaling $32,191,172 for a 2-year period beginning July 1st, 2017. The recommended investment amounts are detailed in Exhibit C, titled PCL Grant Renewal, and additional funding amounts approved by the Allocation Committee. Hang on a second here.
Oh, I think, there you go.
The 5-member Allocation Committee is charged with making all funding decisions for the levy. The committee is comprised of Dan Saltzman, a city commissioner, and also the chair of the committee, Chair Deborah Kafori, a county commissioner, Julie S. Young, a citizen member appointed by the city council, Serena Stodmeyer-Wesley, a citizen member appointed by the county board, and Mitch Horniker, a representative of the Portland Business Alliance. Most of the funding requested, just over $30 million, will be used to renew current grants for the final 2 years of the current levy period. The renewal amounts include a 3.5% COLA each year. After reviewing performance data for each grantee, the allocation committee recommends renewing a total of 67 grants, including 17 early childhood grants, 16 after-school grants, 15 child abuse prevention and intervention grants, 8 foster care grants, 6 mentoring grants, and 5 hunger relief grants. There are some additional amounts that have been recommended for current grantees to address specific policy advancement. The allocation committee recommends that just over $1 million be awarded to 16 grantees that offer home visiting services and 2 grantees that offer preschool groups. The purpose of these funds is to reduce caseloads or group sizes and increase reflective supervision while maintaining current service levels. This funding supports quality improvement efforts undertaken in early childhood, child abuse prevention, intervention, and foster care program areas. The allocation committee also recommends that $385,000 be added to an existing grant that provides early childhood mental health consultation services to early childhood programs with center-based programs that are funded through the levy. The additional funding will expand the mental health consultation services to include home visiting programs in early childhood, child abuse prevention, intervention, and foster care program areas.
I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate that you're giving the cost of living adjustments for the program staff. In the past, we haven't necessarily done that in all of our grants, and I appreciate that we are.
Thank you. It's the grantees also appreciate it, and for the salaries increases for staff, it helps to move towards the, to make sure that minimum wage is addressed as well. The committee also recommends awarding about $360,000 to expand summer programming for 10 after-school grantees over the next 2 years. The purpose of these funds is to prevent summer learning loss as well as expand the availability of summer programming in the community. And finally, the allocation committee recommends awarding just over $50,000 to 9 after-school and mentoring grantees. The purpose of this funding is to support the implementation of the youth program quality assessment process and covers things like staff time for training, assessment improvement planning, logistics, and materials. In summary, the Children's Levy requests that the City Council accept these recommendations of the Allocation Committee to fund the investments totaling $32,191,172 as detailed in Exhibit C, titled PCL Grant Renewal and Additional Funding Amounts approved by the Allocation Committee. This request does not include any cost to the City General Fund. Children's Levy revenues are generated by a special property tax levy, and the Children's Levy proposes to use a portion of the proceeds of the levy to fund these allocations.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
And now we'll hear directly from 3 of the programs that the Children's Levy invest in. We'll start with Albina Early Head Start, and then we'll hear from Latino Network and then from ERCO. So I'd like to invite Albina Early Head Start's director, Elaine Harrison, up first, and she'll introduce a few of the families they serve. Welcome, Elaine.
Good morning.
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 Good morning. I'm Elaine Harrison from Albina Early Head Start. We are very proud and grateful recipients of the levy. And I have with me a coalition of parents, staff, and children here to speak to you today. And we realize we only have 5 minutes, and they all want to speak. So I hope they at least get to say their name and a little bit about what they do.
Hi, my name is Bumi Arabon, and I have 2 little girls in Albina Head Start, and well, both are in Early Head Start. I really appreciate it. The oldest one started when she was 14 months, and the younger one started exactly at 4 months. And she is so well advanced. I really appreciate the teachers, the time and the effort they put on her, because she's like, I can't explain that. I just tell the teachers, the program needs to continue, and they deserve the funds because they have been a blessing for both my family and, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Marta Lewis. First of all, I just want to thank you for your service. And second, I just want to say this program has been life-altering for my daughter and I. Maisie has been in the program, she's a little over 2. She's been in the program since she was 4 months old. And I started with in-home, the home-based services, and she's now been in the classroom for a year. And she's also, she has just flourished in the program. I'm a full-time student at PCC, and because of this program, I've been able to go full-time, and it's helped me to be able to get good grades, you know, knowing that my daughter's in safe hands. We both go to school at the same time, and she loves the program. She speaks Spanish at 2 years old. She loves to read. They have been very loving to me and my daughter. There's times, you know, being a single mom, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm out of my element, and I have a lot of questions, and I feel safe asking the teachers that. And they have not only given me the answers, but they have plugged me into resources such as parenting classes and stuff like that. And I'm so grateful for this program. It's been a real blessing for me and my daughter.
Thank you.
What's you studying at PCC?
I'm doing my Associate of Science, and then I want to do theology, hopefully at Multnomah University. We'll
Fabulous.
see.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, my name is Julieta, and I really love this program. I know them since my first girl, I was pregnant of her. Now she's 13 years old. And then I have 4 years later, I have my other girl, she's 9 years old, and now this baby. So I really love the program. It's really very well for all the children. They have the opportunity to be in there, and I'm really happy for this program. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm also really grateful. Thank you so much. I've been in the program for 3 or 4 years. I just don't think like it's a great help for kids, but I also think it's a great help for parents, like psychological. I was really attached to my kids. I didn't really want to work. I prefer my husband working. I didn't want my kids to go to school. They cry a lot with other people. They're even attached to me, but the teacher helped me understand how they can go to school, learn. My daughter, like the other moms say, she's 2, she already speaks, she can already see all the colors, they're well developed, and most parents say, I get a lot of good compliments back just by that way saying a good mom, just because I already have teachers for my kids in a really young age, and I'm also really grateful because without the program, I wouldn't be able to achieve my goals. We were struggling a lot in money, and my teacher knew this for a couple years, and she said she saw we couldn't move ahead for those 2 years, so she helped me a lot to pay a test for a certification for medical assisting, and so I passed it. Now I have an interview, and I'm really, really grateful for all that, my kids and my future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Sabrina Ursland, and I am currently an employee of Albina, but I am a previous parent. I was asked to come and share a little bit about my history, and I was a child that grew up in the foster system in the city of Portland. Group homes, juvenile facilities, adult jail to prison. And when I became part of the early Head Start community as a parent, both my life, my children's lives, and my husband's lives changed. My husband and I had a lot of time in state custody and throughout the systems growing up, and being able to connect with early Head Start and the resources and the services that were provided from being a home-based family to a center-based family to a Head Start center-based family, we really received the support that we needed to care for our child. We received the education we needed. We both went to college, which wasn't something we anticipated ever doing. And it's really provided that support and safety for a place for us to go to and get what we need to go further in life than what we had ever thought we would have. This Sunday, I actually walk from Portland State with my master's in early childhood education, and I've become part of the Albina family,
And it's just been a saving grace. It's the people, the home visitors, the teachers, the staff, the education coordinators, the directors, they all come in and they wrap themselves around us as parents, and they help us walk through these, obstacles in life that sometimes we don't foresee ourselves getting through. And so that's who I am and kind of why I'm here, and the program has been great. And I just want to touch on the fact that I have been a family that's received home-based services. I've received early Head Start center-based services and Head Start center-based services, and it's really helped my family make it to where we are today.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to wrap up and say thank you again for your support. As you heard today, it's very valuable, very needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Elaine, and all the Albina Head Start families for being here.
We are a family.
Next up is Sadie Feibel Holmes, Director of Early Childhood Programs at Latino Network, and one of their families.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. So yes, for the record, my name is Sadie Feibel Holmes, and I'm the Director of Early Childhood Programs for Latino Network. And I'm here today with Rafaela Soto to express our support for the Portland Children's Levy expanded investments, and just to give an example of what those funds pay for in our city. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about our program and then turn it over to Rafaela to share her experience. Juntos Aprendemos is a culturally specific parent-child kindergarten readiness program that brings 3 to 5-year-old Latino children and their parents into their neighborhood school for 30 weeks. By the end of the program year, children demonstrate measurable gains in kindergarten readiness indicators, with 90% of our kids showing improvement in early literacy and early math skills, and at the same time, over 90% of their parents report engaging in more educational activities with their children at home, reading more frequently with their kids, and utilizing positive parenting strategies. So we know that the parents who graduate from our program are literally building their children's brains at home, and they're building that strong foundation of parent-child attachment that we know fosters resiliency to set these kids up for success in school and life. So I really want to thank the Portland Children's Levy for their commitment to Portland's kids and families, Commissioner Dan Saltzman for your leadership on the allocation committee, and to the whole city council for your support of Portland's children. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Rafaela.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Rafaela Soto. I speak a little bit English, but I think it's better if she translates for me, because I wanna you guys understand everything what I wanna say. Mi nombre es Rafaela Soto. Tengo un niño de 3 años. Tengo 2 años con el programa y este es un programa excelente. Me gustaría que todos lo supieran.
My name is Rafaela Soto. I have a 3-year-old, and I have 2 years participating in this program. It's an excellent program. I would like everyone to know that.
Este programa nos brinda las herramientas necesarias a todos los padres de familia, ayudarles a nuestros hijos a lograr las metas que ellos tienen en la vida.
The program gives all of us parents the necessary tools to help our children build the skills that they need in order to achieve their goals in life.
Este programa nos enseña a los padres la importancia de involucrarnos en la escuela de nuestros hijos.
The program teaches us the importance of being involved in our children's schools.
Este programa cuenta con excelentes maestras.
The program has excellent teachers.
Ellos no solo se involucran con los niños, se involucran también con los padres y nos dan ideas de cómo trabajar con los niños en casa.
And they don't just work with the children, they also work with the parents and give us ideas of how to support our kids' learning at home.
Este programa es solo 2 horas por semana y realmente hablo por todas las mamás que estamos en estos grupos. Es de gran ayuda, pero sí nos gustaría que hubiera más fondos para que el programa fuera posiblemente 2 veces por semana.
And right now the program is 1 day a week for 2 hours, and it's an incredible help. And I speak on behalf of the other moms in my group when I say that it would be amazing to have additional funding to expand the program to at least 2 days a week.
En mi experiencia personal, mis niños han avanzado bastante a lo largo de un año con solo 2 horas por semana. Entonces, ¿se imaginan lo que ellos podrían hacer teniendo 2 días por semana?
And in my own experience, my son has advanced so much in 1 year of just going 1 day a week for 2 weeks, for 2 hours a day. So you could imagine how much more he would grow with 2 days a week.
Yo estoy muy contenta con este programa y me gustaría darles las gracias y decirles que este programa nos ayuda muchísimo, nos ha cambiado la vida como familia, nos enseña cómo podemos ayudar a nuestros hijos a salir adelante.
So I would like to thank you and thank this program. The program has really changed our lives and changed our family and helped us work together better as a family to move forward.
Porque este programa también se enfoca en los padres de familia y nos da aparte de las herramientas, ellos nos muestran la necesidad que los niños tienen de aprender.
And the focus on parents has been really important because not only do they teach us, but they also show us the importance of being involved.
Mis niños, el primero que tuve fue hace un año. Él ya tenía 5 años de edad. Él casi no hablaba muy poco. Este programa le ayudó a comunicarse con los demás niños y ahora es uno de los niños que va muy bien en kindergarten. Él puede leer y puede escribir.
The first child that I brought to this program, he was 5 already, and he barely spoke. And the teachers worked with him and helped him, and by the end of the year, he was able to communicate with other children. And now in kindergarten, he's one of the more advanced students in his class. He can read and he can write.
Lo importante también es que este programa se nos presenta en español y es una de las cosas que nuestros niños no deben de perder.
And one of the important aspects is that the program is conducted in Spanish, and it is something that we don't want our children to lose.
Ahora él habla muy bien inglés y habla muy bien español.
And now my son speaks English and Spanish very well.
Y pues muchísimas gracias por darnos los fondos necesarios y esperamos que para el próximo año sea un poco más, para que podamos seguir contando con el programa y podamos traer más familias y posiblemente tener más días para nuestro programa.
So thank you very much, and we hope that the program will continue and with additional funds be able to serve more families and maybe even more days of programming.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
And last, we have Jorge Nava-Marin, coordinator of IRCO's Inspire program, and a family that they serve.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Saltzman. Thank you, City Council, for having us here today. My name is Jorge Nava-Marin, and I am a program coordinator for the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization's Inspire program. The Inspire program is the Immigrant and Refugee Community Inspire program is the in-school program for immigrant and refugee education, and it provides academic advising, group activities, and parent engagement for Slavic, Latino, African immigrant, and Asian and Pacific Islander families. I am here today in support of the Portland Children's Levy suggestion to increase summer funding this coming summer, as well as to introduce you to a wonderful family who is a member of the program. First, with the suggested increase, we will be able to serve at least an additional 25 students during the summer months. And we will be able to do so in a way that we haven't been able to do before. We will be working under the All Hands Race umbrella to provide a summer transition program. And we'll have the capacity to provide crucial academic support as students transition from 8th grade to 9th grade. Research supports 9th grade transition models, and it's especially important for English language learners to not miss out during the summer months. The additional funds will allow us to add 2 9th grade count programs to the Inspire program, one in Portland Public Schools and the other one in David Douglas. Students will have the opportunity to participate in meaningful academic supports and social and emotional supports. They will also have the ability to earn high school credit and be able to familiarize themselves with their feeding high schools. We know from research and our own experiences that the opportunity to participate in program is essential for the impact to their success in high school and beyond. So we thank the Portland Children's Levy and the Allocation Committee for their continued support for a valuable program. Now, I want to introduce you to Patrick Rivera. He's a Jason Lee student, a 7th grader, and he has been in the program since he was in 4th grade, as well as his dad, Martin Rivera.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Martín Rivera. Les quiero dar gracias por la oportunidad de estar aquí.
Good morning. My name is Martin Rivera. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Como padre de Patri, estoy muy agradecido con el programa Inspire, porque ellos les han ayudado mucho con las... les ayudan con sus tareas, nos dan la oportunidad de a platicar con los maestros sobre los problemas de matemáticas.
As a parent of Patrick, I am very grateful for the program as they provide support for Patrick and as well as the opportunity for us to talk to the school whenever they have problems.
Gracias a este programa, mi hijo ha conocido lugares divertidos de acorde a su edad.
Thanks to this program, my son has also been able to get to know different places that are age appropriate for him.
También nos da la oportunidad de, ellos siempre están, los integrantes de Inspire siempre están dispuestos a ayudarnos.
The Inspire staff are always available to help us, and that's something that I'm grateful for.
Y gracias, les agradezco a todos por su ayuda.
And thank you. I want to thank all of you for your help.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Patrick Rivera. I'm a 7th grader student from Jason Lee School. I am here to talk today about my experience in the Inspire program. Inspire has been beneficial to me in the following ways. First, the after-school group has helped me improve my math skills and reading skills. For example, we played board games that taught these concepts. Another time that Inspire has beneficially is during my classes. Jorge was in my class. He was able to help me answer my questions. As an example, I could ask him what a metaphor was. Lastly, when it got to the end of the term, as a reward for participating in the group, we went on a field trip. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all to both ERCO, Latino Network, and Albina Early Head Start for being here today, and for the families, and thank you for all your work on behalf of Portland's children and families. And that completes our presentation, and this is an emergency ordinance.
Very, very good. Any questions before we call for public testimony? Any public testimony on this item?
We have one person, Star Stoffer.
We do 3-year and then 2-year.
Good morning again. Star Stoffer. I love this program. I'm super grateful that you are leading the charge in allowing these communities that are marginalized and in desperate need of more resources and services. So thank you for that, Saltzman. But I would like to add, I think that the city has the ability, and I think that if the city is serious about taking care of our communities and educating and lifting up people of color so that they have a chance to succeed right next to their white counterparts, I challenge you to double the funding for each of these programs. 25 students, they're only asking for enough funding, this Inspire program, to just add 25 more students over the summer. Why can't we make that 50? Maybe 100? Let's give these guys more funding. I think that what they're asking for is it's not enough. And I think that as a city, we can stand up and show them that we're willing to do more. So I'm challenging you guys to to, think about doubling the funding for each one of these individual programs so that they can help even more, so that next year when they come forward and they're testifying, they have double the families talking about their success stories. They have double the success stories amongst their children in kindergarten and beyond. So I think you should think about doing that, and I'm challenging you to make that happen.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments before I call the roll? Commissioner Fish? Nope. Please call the roll.
Fish?
Dan, thank you for bringing this presentation to council, and thank you to all the families that joined us today. I've served with Dan Salzman since 2008, and what I have come to understand is that this program, the Children's Levy, and this mission around supporting children, all children in our community, is really at the heart of why Dan Salzman serves, why he sought public office, why he has continued in public office. And frankly, Dan, there are obviously a lot of people today to thank for these accomplishments, but there's one indispensable person, and that's you. And you are the person that has initiated this, and every time there's a renewal, you're in the forefront of seeking the funding from the public. So thank you for this, and thank you for your work, and it's inspiring. It's inspiring. And Joe, it's not about you right now, it's about this program. Thank you for your good work, and I'm very proud to support your work. Bye.
Saltzman?
Well, I want to thank, in addition to the programs who do the great job helping our children and families, the programs we invest in, I do want to thank also my fellow members of the Allocation Committee, County Chair Deborah Kafori, Mitch Horniker, Julie Young, and Serena Stoudemire-Wesley. We have a lot of demands for the money we have, the limited funds we have, and we try to do the best we can and make sure we invest in proven programs and to hold our administrative expenses below 5%, which I'm pleased to say we do. So more money goes directly into these programs that serve children and families. And lastly, I also want to thank the staff of the Portland Children's Levy who work very hard to make sure that we make the best decisions we can under the circumstances about who are the best organizations, who have the proven programs, and whose programs can best benefit from our investments to expand their capacity to serve more children and families. Thank you. Aye.
You, Daly?
Well, I think they're all gone, but I wanted to thank the families who came here today to share their very compelling stories. My son did not attend Early Head Start, but he did attend a fantastic preschool on a scholarship, and it really was a life-changing experience for us and one of the most inclusive experiences that he's ever had since. So thank you, Commissioner Saltzman and staff and board, and I vote aye.
Fritz?
Well, I concur with Commissioner Fish's comment. Thank you, Commissioner Saltzman, for initiating this, for continuing to champion it, and for getting it renewed each time. And your service, obviously, is a great investment to our community. Thank you to the families who came. It's unfortunate that we had to start that item a little late. Otherwise, perhaps they could have stayed to be able to hear what we were saying here, because it was very inspirational. This emergency ordinance allocates over $32 million. And that's from the Children's Levy, which is paid by the taxpayers of Portland. And so I appreciate the investment in our children of today so that the adults of tomorrow are going to be better prepared to meet the challenges that they will face. Aye.
Wheeler?
So I am obviously a huge fan of the Children's Levy. I had the privilege, Dan, of serving on the allocation committee when I was county chair. I just want to share one story. Back in 2008, my wife was hosting an event. It was a Women for Obama event, and the guest speaker was then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And she noticed a Children's Levy sign on my front yard coming in. And as is typical with people at that level, they're always 20 minutes late for everything, and they're being rushed from one thing to the next. She got halfway up the stairs, saw the sign, and stopped, and the whole delegation stopped behind her, and she said, "What's that?" And she wanted to hear all about it as somebody who herself has championed the cause of children, particularly disadvantaged youth in her own community and nationally. She thought this was an outstanding model. And the more she heard about it, the more she said, you know, we need to take these ideas back to Washington, D.C. and help expand it to other communities. I liked the challenge that was put before us. How can we actually increase the funding for these kinds of programs? My quick and dirty count is that about 70 different community-based organizations received funds from the levy this year, and I know that there are always far more excellent requests than there are resources provided by that tax levy. And so the work of the allocation committee is actually a very challenging process. And I'm always appreciative of the fact that you have these different, if I can call it, subject areas, and there's an attempt to balance it, an attempt to focus on outcomes, results, and accountability so that the taxpayers will be willing and the voters will be willing again, time after time, to renew this important levy. So I want to thank you, Commissioner. I want to thank your staff. I want to thank all the folks from the community organizations who work collectively in our community to help make this a raging success. So obviously, I'll vote aye and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you, Commissioner. You wanted 6, 7, 8 first,
6, 7, 8,
correct?
yeah.
Because it's the same staffing.
681, oh, that one, right.
Yeah.
That's number 2.
So if you don't mind, Commissioner, we'll do 6, 7, 8, and then we'll move to,
Let's do 681 since the auditor is here.
yeah,
and
that's
then we
good. We'll
have-
do 681, then 664, 666, 667 in that order, and I'll remind you if you've forgotten.
So 678.
Please.
Approve a grant agreement with Catholic Charities Immigration Legal Services, a nonprofit corporation, to provide immigration legal assistance and relief at the Gateway Center for Domestic Violence Services for $60,000.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Saltzman.
Thank you, Mayor. Since the presidential election, the Trump administration's abrupt actions have created an unnecessary climate of fear across our country. Regardless of legal status or residency, our immigrant and refugee neighbors are scared to engage in everyday activities, especially when intersecting with public safety services. The Gateway Center for Domestic Violence Services offers important services to domestic violence victims and their children, including crisis and safety planning and the processing of more than 50% of all restraining orders issued in Multnomah County. Immigrant victims of domestic violence can be especially vulnerable, especially when abusers use the victim's immigration status to trap their partners in abusive relationships. In just the first few months of 2017, the Gateway Center for Domestic Violence Services has seen a significant drop in the number of immigrant clients seeking our services. Because of the particularly vulnerable status of immigrant victims, we feel it imperative to offer on-site legal immigration services at the Gateway Center. And that's what this agreement would do. We need to let our immigrant victims know we can and will offer help. We will stand with you, and we will do our utmost to protect you. And now I'd like to here to talk more about it is the director of the Gateway Center, Martha Strawn Morris, and she is joined by John Herrera, Catholic Charities Immigration Legal Services, and Patricia Rojas of El Programa Español.
Thank you, Commissioner Saltzman. Good morning.
Morning.
Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners, I'm Martha Strawn Morris, the Director of the Gateway Center for Domestic Violence Services, and I'm here today to ask you to support a strategic expansion to our services. We would like to bring, with your approval, immigration legal services on site to the Gateway Center, as well as engage them to represent survivors we serve in immigration proceedings. By way of reminder, the Gateway Center is a walk-in, drop-in center on 102nd and East Burnside. Most survivors come to us initially for crisis and safety interventions like restraining orders and safety planning. But once there, we're able to inform them about and help them avail themselves of a wide variety of wraparound services. The wraparound services are vital to helping break patterns of abuse that keep survivors from stabilizing and healing.
On average, 36 survivors a day come through our doors seeking our help. And as Commissioner Saltzman noted, the number of immigrants seeking our services has declined this year. For example, while last year 15% of all of our participants identified as Latina, in the first quarter of 2017, that number dropped to 11%. Though this decline is new, it has heightened a long-held wish to bring immigration legal services on site. Abusers will exploit any vulnerability to maintain control over their victims, and we have long understood that immigration relief would help wrest control from abusers, which is our mission and our job. And we could not hope for a better partner to help us in this mission than Catholic Charities Immigration Legal Services. Over the last 20 years, they have built an unparalleled reputation as a provider of services to the immigrant community. And by bringing them on site, I truly hope that we send a strong message, and the message is heard, that the Gateway Center continues to be a safe place to seek services. And to talk more about the partnership is John Herrera, and he'll be followed by Patricia Rojas. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, Commissioners, and especially Commissioner Dan Salmons for the opportunity to testify today in support of this agreement between Catholic Charities Immigration Legal Services and the city, and to provide services at the Gateway Center. My name is John Herrera, and I am the Director of the Immigration Legal Services at Catholic Charities, and I am an immigrant myself from Colombia. Catholic Charities Immigration Legal Services has provided the high-quality immigration legal services to low immigrants and refugees for over 20 years. We have significant expertise in providing services especially for domestic violence survivors and victims of crimes. For over a decade, a portion of our program has exclusively served victims of domestic violence and sexual violence. We have built an extraordinary reputation with the immigrant community for providing high-quality immigration legal services in the nonprofit setting. This agreement to provide services at the Gateway Center sends a message to the immigrant community, especially survivors of domestic violence and crime victims, that they don't need to choose between reporting a crime or the fear of being deported. In Portland, we want to assure people that our local officials are making an effort to support public safety, and we are also taking steps to prove that we are a welcoming city for immigrants and refugees. We respectfully ask the City Council and the Mayor to please consider and approve this agreement so we can provide this much-needed service for our immigrant communities and survivors. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Patricia Rojas, and I'm the Executive Director of El Programa Hispano-Católico. We are a culturally specific partner at the Gateway Center, and there's nothing more important than being able to provide safety in our community, and the Gateway Center, supported by the City of Portland, is one of those primary areas of commitment to that principle. However, we have to reconsider what safety means, and the Gateway Center has spent so much effort and commitment and intentionality in building the right types of wraparound services, the right type of environment, the right types of partnerships that are meaningful for communities of color, that are meaningful for survivors of all walks of life to feel safe and supported. However, we do have a changing environment politically, and we have to understand that that means we have to resource the Gateway Center appropriately to respond to that new reality and the implications that it has on survivors. I think you may be aware, I think many of the folks in the audience are aware of a situation in Texas where a survivor went in for support from public safety on a domestic violence situation, and they deported her, or they detained her for deportation. That story has resounded across the nation. including here in Portland. And we're seeing reductions in people seeking assistance, not just in domestic violence, but across the board. So as in the children's levy, we are a recipient in other areas, and we're seeing declines in those areas as well. And I think that this is the case for many culturally specific organizations. Putting in a resource for immigration legal services will allow the Gateway Center to be able to support survivors more effectively. And right now we're asking folks to go to Catholic Charities, to go to a different center, to go to all over the county or the region to get immigration legal support services. And we're putting undocumented survivors at unnecessary risk in doing that. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to resource immigration legal services at the point of entry and contact with the survivor. We know that there are resources in T and U visas, and Catholic Charities, as one of the key partners in the community, has extensive experience in this. As a provider of DV services, we have partnered very well with Catholic Charities ILS department. We have many cases of survivors that we're working together on to support those survivors, and who have been able to access U visas, T visas with the help of Catholic Charities. How wonderful would it be if they didn't have to go through these extra steps to accomplish that and gain additional safety? So I highly encourage you to support this very meaningful investment in the safety of immigrants and refugees in Portland.
Thank you.
I know we're running late, but what are the U visas and the T visas?
John would probably be the best to answer the question.
The kinds of visas that people can get in this situation.
Well, there is a visas for victims of crimes like the U visa. Anyone who reports a crime, regardless the legal status, can get a temporary visa that ultimately will let them to stay in the country, work legally, and at the end become a legal permanent resident. Those are, unfortunately, this is not the best way to get legal status, but at least it's something that allows the victim to go forward and report a crime. That's the meaning of the U visa, is to report the crime and stop the abuser and criminals, and don't use the legal status of someone just not to report because they're afraid to go to the police and say, I'm reporting a crime, because immigrant community, we tend to think that anyone in uniform is an immigration officer that can deport you from this country. So that's one of the kind of visas that help victims. And T visas also allow for people who have been brought to the country or is in the country in a trafficking situation, any labor or sexual trafficking issue. And the VAWA cases are specifically for victims of domestic violence married to a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident whose spouse has been abusive, and use the power of the immigration status to put more control and more abuse on those victims. Also using the children as a tool to, tell someone that if you report me, I'm gonna, kick you out of the country and take the kids.
So that you can actually make sure that they can stay.
And with this kind of program, we can just serve the client and assure them that is always a law that can protect them.
That is really good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Commissioner Daley.
This is just one of the most horrifying outcomes of the anti-immigration agenda to me. I've also heard that reports of sexual violence are way down, that families aren't showing up for custody orders, restraining orders. So my question is, number one, is there a plan of action if ICE officers or show up on your property? And number two, what kind of outreach to the community are you going to undertake, and can we help in any way? Because as you said, these stories reverberate across the country, and although they may be few and far between, I'm afraid that very few people are coming forward for help right now.
We are, as a Catholic Church Immigration Legal Services, among with the other partners in the Programa Hispano, we have been doing a lot of outreach to tell the community what they know your rights and what to do if they encounter an ICE officer and how to protect them. But also we've been working really hard on a safety planning for commissioners and mayor. You can imagine how hard it is to tell a parent to be ready to give someone else the control or the ability to take care of your kids if you're going to be put in jail for removal defense, for removal case, meaning you're going to be deported from this country and your kids are not going to be able to stay with someone that is not a foster care but a family member. So we're preparing families to have a safety planning, and that's it's also that we plan to do at the Gateway Center is to do a little bit of know your rights setting presentation as it become available.
We do have a plan, at least I've talked to, this Gateway Center is guarded by the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and our facility security officer understands that he would treat ICE officers like any other member of the public. Any member of the public that came to the Gateway Center could not learn who was inside the Gateway Center seeking services, and as you know, it's a very secure building. We make very conscious decisions about who leaves our lobby space. So I feel fairly confident that we won't have an incident, but we're also cautious and on guard. I think about the docket at the downtown courthouse for restraining orders. It's not public, or if it is public, it's not public for long, but we're cautious for sure. In terms of outreach, we certainly will go to all of our domestic violence partners, and they'll understand that the service is available, and they'll be talking to their clients. And my understanding in this community, it's word of mouth is just incredibly important. And so just the fact that Immigration Legal Services is with us is part of our strategic design to reach to the community. But yeah, we would certainly be happy to make sort of public, and it'll go on our website, things like that this service might be available. They're going to hit capacity in almost no time flat, too. So we don't want to create too much expectation that we can't meet, is the balance of the outreach question.
I think we, and we do need to spread the word that this resource would be available. So, for example, a lot of the partners that are at the Gateway Center, like El Programa Hispano, like NEA, others, we have relationships in the community. El Programa works with 13,000 Latinos a year. And so we have a very deep and broad connection with the Latino community. In addition, we have partnerships with Latino Network, with IRCO, with others who would also participate in being able to share that information. So management of, if you will, capacity is a different issue, but I think that we have the ability to spread the word far and wide.
Please share any public online resources with my office, and we'd be happy to help push that information out.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
We should put it on the front page of Portland Online, Mayor.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you were here to explain about this and that you pulled it from the consent agenda, because this is one of the active ways that we can provide help to people who need it. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Martha, John, and Patricia.
Thank you.
Any further questions before we move to public testimony? Is there public testimony on this item?
This was pulled. I don't have a sign-up sheet for pulled items, but I know Star at least wants to speak to this.
Very good. Come on
Let
up.
Robert West just come on up if you want to address this.
It's Rich.
Still morning? Good morning again. Star Stoffer. So to me, what they're talking about as far as for services for immigration, people who don't have their visas, who are victims of not only community violence but domestic violence, this is a serious priority in our communities. These people are in jeopardy just walking outside, not just from their partners who are dangerous, but as I've said many times coming up here today, white hate crime is on the rise, and people like this program coming up here are exactly what we need to prioritize in this city so that we can better protect our neighbors in our sanctuary city. $60,000 is barely one person's salary in a year in some cases. I really don't think that is enough money to accomplish the goals that they set forth in regards to wanting to help people and expand their program. I really don't think it's enough. That's not even going to cover the overhead to run this program for more than 6 months. And we know, based on what we're seeing in our city and the rise in hate crimes and the attack on immigrants in our black and brown communities, that this is a serious problem, and we're not going to be getting rid of it anytime soon, unfortunately. So really the consideration here is, how can we really help beyond just putting it on the front page of our website? Well, let's double, triple the funding. This is a priority. We have to give these people more money. They need more money than what they're requesting. We need to make sure that they have those services and that resource available. Whether we have to crowdsource it from this community or take it out of our city funds, we have to give them more money.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Robert West. I'm from the police. I'm all for funding, this kind of funding. The only thing that I also noticed on the agenda was the $50,000 for Homeland Security, their grant, and I'm sure hoping that this is not an agreement with Homeland Security, that we'll pass this if you allow us to buy your weapons with your money. And like I said, I'm all for this, but I'm not for any kind of negotiations with Homeland Security. And I know that's on the agenda. All right, that's what I want to bring up.
Good. When we get to that, I just want to be very clear. The Homeland Security grant is NWASI grant. That is emergency preparedness. So that is in response to the kinds of issues that took place in New Orleans to make sure they don't happen here in the event of a wide-scale emergency situation.
Okay.
That being the end, any further questions, colleagues, before I call the roll? Carla, please call the roll.
Fish?
Dan, thanks for bringing this forward. In a perfect world, we'd be able to seek federal reimbursement for these dollars, but we'll have to wait at least 3 years for that. Thank you. Aye.
Saltzman?
Well, this is going to provide much-needed critical funding, albeit probably not enough, to provide legal services to our immigrant and refugee communities. So I want to thank Catholic Charities, Immigration Legal Services for stepping up to provide this critical service. I want to thank Martha Strawn Morris of the Gateway Center for her capable leadership, Shannon Callahan of my staff, who conspired with Martha to figure this out, how to use this money in a positive way for our immigrant and refugee community. Aye.
Udaley?
I see this as a small step towards strengthening our sanctuary city resolution. I do agree it's not nearly enough money, and we'll just have to see how fast it goes and where we can find more funding. Aye.
Fritz?
Thank you very much, Dan, for pulling this on the agenda. Thank you very much for being here to explain about it. I learned about the visas, and that's really encouraging to know that there is a path to legal citizenship if folks are able to have the courage and knowledge to go to the Gateway Center. This is part of the action. We did pass the welcoming, inclusive Sanctuary City resolution, and we promised that we were going to do not just one thing, but a whole range of things to support people in our community who are vulnerable and terrified. And I'm just glad that we're doing this one. It's not all that we need to do, though. We need to combat racism and all the evils that we're currently challenged by, and we need to do it upfront and strongly as we can. Bye.
Wheeler?
My recollection is that this is our third distribution of funding for this purpose. We had one in the fall bump. We had a larger one through the budget process. Now this, and I want to be very clear that the organizations who spoke here today and are doing great work in the community, they are ongoing partners with us. And so we'll continue to work together, and if the 60 doesn't turn out to be anywhere near enough, obviously we're going to continue the conversation. This is something that both philosophically and operationally we have committed to. And so for those who say this is not enough, I agree it's not enough, and there will be a continued refinement of the resources as we go forward. And again, I want to respect the partnership that we have and express my appreciation for it. I think it's a great partnership, and I look forward to continuing it. I vote aye, the ordinance is adopted. Thank you for being here. So next, we're going to move to item 681, which pertains to the auditor, and for that reason, I'd like to move 669 right after that, because it's the same conversation and the same staffing. So 681 will be up next. Subsequently, we'll do 664, 666, and 667 as a block.
Item 681, proclaim results of the municipal nonpartisan special election on Measure 26-189, amends charter, increases auditors' independence from audited agencies, adds duty.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There it is. So we have a proclamation, ladies and gentlemen, and before us we have our amazing auditor, Mary Hill Caballero, who's done some tremendous work since January and worked very collegially with this council to put forward an auditor independence ballot measure, which won in a landslide. I'd like to read the proclamation. Whereas the Council of the City of Portland referred to the voters of the city at the municipal nonpartisan special election held on May 16, 2017, a measure with the ballot title caption, amends charter, increases auditors' independence from audited agencies, adds duty. And such measure was designated on the ballot as Measure 26-189. And according to the official canvass, 108,068 votes were cast in favor of said measure, and only 16,991 were cast against said measure. Now, therefore, it is hereby proclaimed by the undersigned mayor of the city of Portland that the measure with the ballot title caption amends charter, increases auditors' independence from the audited agencies, adds duty, has been enacted and is in effect. Dated at Portland, Oregon, this 14th day of June, 2017. Thank you, Auditor, and I don't know if you have comments you'd like to share.
I just would like to take the opportunity to thank the council for referring this item to the ballot. I think it is an important expression of your commitment to accountability and to having a strong auditor's office, and I very much appreciated that. And I also want to thank the voters for embracing the measure. And I have to, in advance, thank the staff in my office in the Management Services Division who are going to take the lead in implementing these changes. And I just very much appreciated your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't know if there's any other comments or
Mayor,
questions.
I just want to make two quick comments. The first is, Auditor, we are going to conduct an investigation and determine why 16,991 people voted no. We'll be engaged.
I would be interested in the answer to that question.
We'll be looking for a full audit on that. And the second is, since the next item is 26-194, I just want to express my concern that after the overwhelming victory of 26-189, Mayor, there did seem to be a case of voter fatigue that was reflected in the vote on 26-194.
That's funny.
Congratulations, though, and thank you for the
very
great
much.
work you did.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And that is a proclamation 669. If we could move that next, please.
Proclaim results of the municipal nonpartisan special election on Measure 26-194, amends charter, authorizes council to change scope of transit lodging tax obligations.
And this proclamation is very similar, but I will read it for the record. Whereas the Council of the City of Portland referred to the voters of the city at the municipal nonpartisan special election held on May 16, 2017, a measure with the ballot title caption, amends charter, authorizes council to change scope of transit lodging tax obligations. And such measure was designated on the ballot as Measure 26-194, and according to the official canvass, 80,467 votes were cast in favor of said measure, and 48,394 were cast against said measure. Now, therefore, it is hereby proclaimed by the undersigned mayor of the city of Portland that the measure with ballot title captions amends charter, authorizes council to change scope of transit lodging tax obligations, has been enacted and is in effect, dated at Portland, Oregon, this 14th day of June, 2017. So proclaimed. Commissioner Fish, congratulations. Any further comments on this item?
Just want to thank the voters, Mayor, and as a result of this change, we will see additional revenues coming in to the general fund, and we will see more tax fairness where a mom-and-pop bed and breakfast in St. John's is paying the exact same lodging tax as an out-of-state company, internet company like HomeAway, as it should be. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. That completes that item. Item 664, please.
Authorize grant agreements and intergovernmental agreements with 11 community groups and native plant mini-grants related to the Community Watershed Stewardship Program up to $100,000 total.
Let's read all these together, Mayor, with 666.
Very good. 666.
And 667.
666, authorize grant agreement up to $73,000 in fiscal year 17-18 to Southwest Neighborhoods, Inc. to provide outreach, technical assistance, and community involvement for watershed projects in Southwest sub-watersheds.
And 667, please.
Authorize 5-year contract with the Columbia Slough Watershed Council for $255,000 for Columbia Slough-related education and stewardship activities.
Mayor, I'm pleased to bring forward these 3 actions from the Bureau of Environmental Services this morning, which will leverage local nonprofits and volunteers to protect our community's watershed. The first item, Council Item 664, is part of the Community Watershed Stewardship Program, which provides mini grants to support activities like natural area revegetation, environmental education, and watershed stewardship. As we'll hear today, grantees include Verdi, which will be working with the Columbia Slough Watershed Council, Habitat for Humanity, and homeowners to install rain gardens. DPAVE, which will partner with the Ascension Catholic Church congregation and Elemental Technologies to depave a church parking lot. And the National Indian Parent Information Council, which will collaborate with the Johnson Creek Watershed Council and Portland Parks and Recreation to engage youth in restoration projects. And Blueprint Foundation, which will work with students from Roosevelt High School to make stormwater improvements at the Dharma Rain Zen Center. The second item, 665, is a grant agreement with Southwest Neighborhoods, Inc. It will support watershed education at the Southwest Watershed Resource Center, watershed protection grants, invasive plant removal, and native plant landscaping in Southwest and Northwest Portland. And the third item, 667, is a 5-year agreement with the Columbia Slough Watershed Council. It will build on our work to promote community stewardship and stream and wetland restoration for the Columbia Slough. In partnership with BES, the Columbia Slough Watershed Council connects over 2,000 people annually to watershed improvement events. And this agreement includes new support for participation from underrepresented groups in environmental education and stewardship work. I'm very proud that the Columbia Slough Watershed Council will continue to be our partner in promoting and protecting the health of the Columbia Slough. I want to thank BES staff, particularly Jennifer Devlin, who is with us today, for their commitment to community partnerships and the work in the Bureau of Environmental Services work. I also want to thank my colleague, Commissioner Amanda Fritz, who has been a strong voice of support for these programs over the years. We believe these partnerships strengthen both our watersheds and our communities. And colleagues, with that, I'll turn it over to Jennifer Devlin. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning. I'll let us each introduce ourselves and what ordinance we're here to talk about. I'm Jennifer Devlin. I've been with Environmental Services for about 18 years now. And I'll be able to talk about and answer questions about the Columbia Slough Watershed Council ordinance.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Esmeralda Sanchez, and I'm a Portland State student, coordinator of the Community Watershed Stewardship Program. I'm part of the Indigenous Studies program at Portland State.
Terrific.
Hi, my name is Becky Tilson. I'm with the Westside Watershed team at BES, and I can answer any questions you might have about the agreement with Southwest Neighborhoods.
Let me just say that even though we're jammed today, we pulled a couple of these from consent because we wanted to celebrate the great work of these partnerships, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Fritz.
I was just reminiscing myself because I think I got one of the first grants in 1995 when Patrice Mango and Ivy Francis were in Bureau of Environmental Services. And that was kind of another step in my progression to get here, is realizing that good things can be done by community members in partnership with city government and can be good for the health of the watershed as well. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Thank you, Commissioner Fish, for continuing this program.
I want to follow that up with, since the Portland building staff are all moving, it is up to staff that are here now to go through all those grants and put the final reports into long-term storage. And your grant report is really a nice one, I have to say, Commissioner Fritz. It's
Can I give
standing
you
the
my
test
copy
of
of it
time.
as well, because it's kind of taking up space in my house, but I don't want to throw it away.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public testimony on item 664, 666, or 667?
So, Mayor, the second readings are just 666 and 667.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Is there any, that's correct. Is there any public testimony on 664?
I didn't have a sign-up sheet for pulled items.
Is there anybody who wants to testify? Seeing none, item 6, any colleagues, any further discussion on 664? That's a non-emergency first reading of an ordinance. It moves to second reading. Please call the roll on 666.
Fish.
We're very proud of these partnerships and grateful to the council for supporting them, and want to thank all of our invited testimony this morning. Aye.
Saltzman.
These are great partnerships and really help improve our community. So thank you, Commissioner Fish. Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Well, this partnership with Southwest Neighborhoods Incorporated recognizes that neighborhood coalitions are the experts in getting messages out to their communities within their geographic areas, and partnering with many different ethnic communities as well. So very much appreciate your work and that of your predecessors on this grant, and thanks to the Bureau of Environmental Services, who've realized very early on that having the community do the outreach is a good way to get things done. Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The grant's adopted. The ordinance is accepted. Thank you. Please call the roll on 667.
Fish.
I want to thank all the team members at BES, particularly Jennifer Devlin, for their great work in overseeing these programs. Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. So why don't we begin moving through the remainder, as much of the regular agenda as we get through. I'd like to dispose of 685, 686 first, please. Can you call 685?
685, amend the boundary of the Northwest 20th Avenue Local Improvement District and include traffic signal replacement in the space, in the scope of improvements authorized for the Northwest 23rd Avenue and Northwest Bond Street and US Highway 30 intersection.
Carla, please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Please call 686.
Authorize the Bureau of Transportation to acquire certain permanent and temporary rights necessary for construction of the Northwest 20th Avenue LID project through the exercise of the city's eminent domain authority.
Please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Colleagues, item 692 is being, if you could call item 692.
Amend relocation assistance regulations in affordable housing preservation and Portland renter protections.
Colleagues, this item is going to be held over until July 12th unless there's any objection. Seeing no objection, that item is held over. With that, please call item 682.
Authorize memorandum of understanding with the American Red Cross for cooperation in emergency preparedness, response, and recovery.
Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Jana Papef-Themiu, and I work at the Bureau of Emergency Management as the Planning Policy and Communications Manager, and I'm joined this morning by Monique Dugas from the Red Cross. We're here to present a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Red Cross that renews a previous agreement. It states that the Red Cross and the City of Portland will work together to prepare, respond, and recover from emergencies, to share information about the needs of Portlanders affected by disasters, and to cooperate to meet those needs. It is not about the exchange of funds. I work on call as a duty officer for PBEM, and from time to time, I get called to an incident where a fire or another event has left Portlanders in need of emergency shelter, and I am always so grateful for the very prompt, professional, and free resources of the Red Cross. As the planning manager at PBEM, I also participate in a countywide process to plan mass shelters that might be needed in a widespread event, such as an earthquake, and the Red Cross has also been an invaluable partner in that work. The expertise that they have built in our region over many years increases our collective capacity to respond to a major event. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Monique.
Thank you so much for that, Jonna. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Like Jonna said, my name is Monique Dugas, and I'm the Regional Director of Communications for the Red Cross. When there's a need for disaster relief services, service to members of the armed forces, international assistance, life-saving blood, and health and safety training, the Red Cross is there to help. Each year, the Red Cross helps more than 60,000 responds to help at more than 60,000 disasters across the nation. Our local volunteers board planes and travel to locations where they've never been to help people that they've never met. And in 2016, our local Red Cross in Oregon and Southwest Washington responded to approximately 650 local disasters, many of which were home fires, affecting ordinary families, and we came to help our neighbors in need. We provide shelter, food, and other assistance, sometimes something as simple as a toothbrush, to help that family get back on their feet. Many of these disasters do not make headlines. It's a responder coming in the middle of the night to help a family who has just lost everything. But a number of our responses do make headlines, and I'd like to share just a couple of those with you where the Red Cross has provided help and hope. In October 2016, Portland Fire and Rescue heroically evacuated a densely populated area of Northwest Portland. You're familiar with this story, the gas explosion in Northwest. Very shortly after the explosion, the Red Cross was there to help with public information needs, to establish a reception center for information, and to help people who had been affected to find a safe place to stay and get back on their feet. The Red Cross also helped to provide emergency assistance such as water and food to local first responders. In another incident, over the winter, a large fire destroyed the Hotel Alder, a low-income residential property in downtown Portland. The Red Cross was there, mobilizing rapidly to help the people affected with providing food, shelter, prescription medications, health and mental health assistance for 2 weeks. And an example that did not make headlines. Last year, Jimmy, a Portland resident, woke up from a nap he was taking to his home engulfed in flames. The Red Cross had installed smoke alarms in his home the year prior and helped his family to put together a family evacuation plan. Jimmy credits the Red Cross with helping him know what to do and alerting him to the fire. Everyone in the home made it out safely. We also responded to help Jimmy immediately after the fire. He and his family were provided with a place to stay and other basic needs from the Red Cross. Every day, on average 3 times a day, the Red Cross responds to help a family who's lost their home in a fire, flood, wildfire, or windstorm. In fact, this past year, the Red Cross has responded to more than 100 disasters within the city of Portland, helping people in need with nowhere else to turn. I think you probably see a theme emerging. When there is a need, the Red Cross is there to help. And I would like to encourage you and ask you to please to adopt this ongoing memorandum of understanding with the Red Cross. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any further questions at this time? Is there any public testimony on this matter?
Yes, we have 4 people signed up. The first 3 are Robert West, Star Stauffer, and Veronica Bernier.
Very good. And just out of curiosity, we had a number of items pulled from the consent agenda, items 670, 671, and 672. Are you able to testify on those matters as well?
I am.
Great, okay, so we'll take care of this one first, thank you.
Let's go, Veronica, let's go with you first.
Okay, good. Good morning. It's lovely to see you all this morning. I am Veronica, Portland State University, graduate in the School of Public Health and Safety. My field is pediatric, having been a former pediatric nurse, intensive care unit nurse for over 10 years, I think, just like Amanda here, who is a nurse herself. I'm happy to be talking to you, Mayor Ted Wheeler. I know you're busy, and my email page is sometimes up and down, and of course, we support you. Continue to support your work as a nurse, and we're grateful to have one on the board. Mayor Wheeler, we'll get to know one another further on, I know that. And Commissioner Dan Saltzman, of course, we know our paths have crossed before, and you've always done good work being the senior member of the board. I don't see Nick Fish here, but I know he's very comfortable. I know him from the Sacramento area. Okay. Mrs. Fritz, you're an RN, I'm an LVN, local 250 San Francisco, and your background is unimpeachable. The mayor comes in with great colors and credits from his background as a political servant. And of course, Commissioner Dan Saltzman is our little hero of the day, always one to pick up the ball when someone drops it. I think that whenever there's a fire, there's always a questionable area about what started what and when and where, and the Red Cross always comes through. Within 24 hours, they're always there, even though like under Rodney Rogers, within 24 hours, they should be to your doorstep to help out the families. So I support all this work unilaterally. I think the blood bank's a good idea, and I also think we could use some more snacks out there. I do have a food handler's license, and it is with the Red Cross, so National Red Cross knows I'm out here. Great Fund of 95. Kudos to you on the board for continuing to support our administration even in these troubling political up and down times.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, my name is Robert West. I'm with From the Police 911. I do support the Red Cross. The thing is sharing is not necessarily caring. And what I mean by that is when you start putting nonprofit organizations like the Red Cross and the city together, there's issues of people's personal confidentiality. Like, for instance, if my house burnt down, I wouldn't want the city council or city bureaus to know what assistance I'm getting from the Red Cross or that I received any assistance. And that's my main concern, is that, you know, then all of a sudden my information becomes public because all your documents are public record. And so my concern is the confidentiality with the assistance the Red Cross gives and what your guys' records would indicate. So that's what I wanted to bring up, is the confidentiality of the people that are receiving assistance from the Red Cross, because their assistance should be confidential. And if you put it with city stuff or city information, then all of a sudden it's not confidential. And you also have an issue with security where people could look up records of women, children, and stuff like that on public record. And that I think the city should really look at. I don't think the city should be involved in the Red Cross stuff unless there can be a way of doing it where names and ages and stuff like that are not public.
Thank you.
Good afternoon at this point, Star Stoffer. I have to concur with Bob. I'm concerned about the safety aspect as far as the partnership or cooperation, however you want to call it, with Red Cross. I understand that certain tragedies don't necessarily fall in resources lent out, don't necessarily fall under HIPAA agreements. However, once again, with the political climate that we're in, people who have nefarious intent will utilize these records to target certain individuals who are receiving public assistance, whether it be from Red Cross or another public resource, especially if the city's in cooperation. Like he said, those records become public. As we know, the people are often targeted in this city at this point by way of public record searches. Their names are pulled out, their houses are gone to, they receive hate mail, they receive death threats for receiving services, for speaking out, for just being black or brown, especially if the Red Cross is assisting anybody who happens to be a person of color. Where does their privacy start and where does it end? And as far as the city's cooperation, exactly what does that entail? What amount of cooperation are we talking about here? Because that seems very vague. There is no real description of what cooperation means when the city is partnering with Red Cross. And I can't feel comfortable with a partnership, and neither should the rest of this community, if we don't fully understand everything that means and what comes with it, including possible and potential privacy invasion.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
One more. We have Adam Maram Milan.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning. Afternoon. I want to thank City Council members, commissioners, and Mr. Mayor. My name is Adam Murray Millen, and I am a full-time student. I am a service industry employee, and I'm also a recent member of the Portland Human Rights Commission. I'm very proud to be here today, and thank you so much for hearing my testimony. I chose to speak on this issue because I feel very thankful for nonprofit organizations collaborating with the city to address issues of public health. And what we heard today in regard to this specific issue is a disaster response. And I think that's really pertinent to right now because I review the current climate that we live in politically to be more of a public health issue than really anything else. I think that there's a lot of rhetoric politicizing the issue. And as a person of color, the way that I experience the shift into people feeling emboldened to engage in hate activities, I feel more empathy than anger. I see it as a conflict where we're struggling with the identity of the city. And when I look at city council, I don't see folks to be bad people. And I don't think that you set out to represent the side of evil. In fact, I'm struggling to humanize hate activities and people that feel initiated through those ambitions to kind of engage in like ethnic cleansing and things like that. So what I want to encourage is maybe some preventative action in terms of you folks have heard about the threats on like the Good in the Hood parade. I want you to be there, and I think that the Red Cross should be there, and I think that we should really encourage folks to, rather than focus on the victims receiving the violence, maybe focus on the perpetuators of that violence first, and engage them and address their mental health needs, because really I think this is a public health issue and a mental health issue. Thank you so much for your time. I'm done.
Excellent testimony.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And I will just note that I have seen the Red Cross in the Good in the Hood parade on previous occasions, and I'm looking forward to walking in it again this year.
Thank you. So is there any other comment on this, colleagues? If not, this is a non-emergency first reading of an ordinance. It moves to second reading. Could you please call together items 670, 671, and 672?
670, apply for a grant from the Oregon Military Department Office of Emergency Management for their Emergency Management Performance Grant Program in the amount of $285,000 for administering an integrated all-hazard emergency management program for the city of Portland. And 671, accept and appropriate the fiscal year 2016 Urban Areas Security Initiative Grant in the amount of $2,822,000 from the Oregon Office of Emergency Management to enhance emergency preparedness through planning, training, and equipping emergency responders in the Portland urban area. And 672, authorize application to the Department of Homeland Security Urban Areas Security Initiative Grant Program for a grant in the amount of $2,837,000 to enhance emergency preparedness through planning, training, and equipping of emergency responders in the Portland urban area.
Good afternoon. So these were pulled, and my guess is people are going to ask, what are the grants for? What kind of equipment and training will be provided through these grants? So if you get to that, I think you'll answer some of the questions that people may have on these items. Thank you.
I'll start with 670, the Emergency Management Performance Grant. This is a pass-through grant from the Federal Department of Homeland Security to the Oregon State Office of Emergency Management to the City of Portland. It's a non-competitive grant that's awarded on a population basis, and most Oregon counties and large cities receive the grant. We use it to pay our rent, to pay salaries for 2 staff people, and to pay part of our phone bill. The strings or the agreement that comes with the grant is that we have to submit our annual work plan and then follow it. And that work plan is exactly in accord with our strategic plan. So it says we develop emergency response and mitigation plans, and we practice them, and we do community outreach around preparedness.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Amy Cole, and I am the Grants Program Coordinator at the Bureau of Emergency Management, and I will start with the Urban Area Security Initiative FY16 grant. That's 670.
That's 671.
Sorry.
671.
This grant also comes to us through the state from the Oregon Emergency Management. The city has received this grant since 2003. It is a regional grant for the Portland urban area, which includes 5 counties, the Port of Portland, and TriMet. The 5 counties served are Multnomah, Washington, Clark County in Washington, Columbia, and Clackamas. Portland, the city of Portland is the fiscal agent for the regional funding. Last spring, council approved the application for the funds, and we are just now getting the grant agreement, and so we're asking for acceptance, approval to accept and expend the funds. The funding is focused on region-wide emergency preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation for both natural and man-made events and disasters. Examples of the projects to be funded include regional neighborhood emergency readiness, including community responders, so that's training and planning and equipment for those responders, medic training for firefighters around the region, urban search and rescue training for firefighters, equipment for the state medical examiner's mobile morgue unit, a fuel management exercise, hiring of a consultant to develop a recovery framework for the region, and it also funds 3.5 staff to run the grant.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. And so I'll move on, I guess, to 672, which is the application for the UWASI 2017 funds. A lot of the information is the same. It serves the same region. Again, we've had this funding since 2003. We're asking council to approve the application for approximately $2.8 million. The application is due June 22nd, 2017. It was an extremely fast turnaround this year for that. So we're asking for approval to apply. We'll come back to council when we have the grant agreement like we do with 16 right now. So that will be probably in the winter or spring of 2018.
Very good. Great, thank you. Colleagues, any questions before we call for public testimony? Is there any public testimony on 670, 671, or 672?
These were pulled by Mr. Lightning. He's gone, but Mr. West would like to testify.
Very good. If you want to just cool your heels for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Yes, I'm against us receiving any money or equipment or anything like that from Homeland Security or the military. Regardless what the situation is, I can see a lot of it going toward police. And if you guys haven't noticed, the police have been extremely rough on protesters. They've been extremely vigilant on doing stuff against cop watchers. And my concern is if you start receiving federal money, what's the federal government going to ask for in return? The federal government doesn't just give money and say, okay, here you go. A lot of times they'll come back and say, well, we gave you money here. Now this is what we expect in return. And that return might not be what people want. And if you're receiving money from from Homeland Security and the military for this emergency preparations, what are you telling the activists in this community? What are you telling the people of the city of Portland? That, yeah, we're going to accept the money, and sometime down the way, our government's going to sit there and say, well, we want this, this, this. You know, you're saying we're a sanctuary city. What happens down the way when the federal government goes, well, you're a sanctuary city, so we're not going to give you these funds? Or what happens when the federal government turns around and says, well, you're assisting illegal aliens, so we want all these people you're assisting or you're helping, we want their names and addresses. You know, I totally disagree with receiving anything from the federal government. If the city can't afford to do their own training, then they need to come up with other ways of paying for it besides going to the federal government. All this stuff that they're talking about, the fire department's trained in that anyway. You know, we have a urban search and rescue truck and stuff like that. I would greatly go against what this measure says.
Very good. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Star Stoffer. I'm disturbed at the idea that we're going to be receiving money from Homeland Security or the federal government and the military, especially under this administration. I'm concerned of under what stipulations we would be accepting those funds. Second of all, what outreach work? Where? What neighborhood? What people are you activating? How many people are attending these classes, these trainings, these services? Why are we only, if you're so concerned about public safety and emergency preparedness, why are these trainings and services not opened up to the public? Why not train your own citizens to be emergency prepared? Third of all, why is any of this money being allocated to TriMet? The Department of Homeland Security already allocates money to TriMet, which is how come they have the money to hire Portland cops to be their personal security for their bus lines. So really what you're saying when you say that they're going to be allocating some of this money to TriMet is that you're giving some of the money again to the Portland police. And as we know, the Portland police are dangerous. They're criminals. They're killing people. They attacked over 900 people because one brick was allegedly thrown. And we want to give these people more money. Are you crazy? This is insane. You don't reward thugs by paying them for being thugs. So I'm against this completely. I'm with Bob. This is extremely disturbing, and I think in a sanctuary city where protesting is an enormous part of the culture because there's so many freaking problems to address every single day because of measures like this, It sets the wrong message. It sends the wrong message. It sets a bad example. You're telling, the undocumented and black people in this community, you're just putting a big fat middle finger in their face, and you're telling protesters your days are numbered, because it was the Department of Homeland Security
Thank
that
you.
declared us terrorists.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, you're up.
Good morning. My name is Joe Walsh. I represent Individuals for Justice. I'm not going to go through a whole list of things because this is an emergency ordinance. You're all going to vote for it anyway. And I'll just give you a warning. Keep it up. Keep it up doing this kind of stuff. Just keep it up. And Commissioner Dudaly, you got my vote. I want it back. Ever since you've been on this council, you've disappointed me.
The feeling's
The
mutual.
rest of you are not a disappointment. I've been dealing with you for years, except the mayor, which it seems like I've been dealing with you for years, because you're the same as Hales. You're the same as Sam. The only one that you're not the same as is Potter, because I liked him. Even though we disagreed a lot, but I liked him because he used to start his meetings every week with how are the kids doing, how are the children doing, and his theory was if the children are doing well, then so is Portland. Since you've taken office, we are not doing so well, and I grant you I am not a child, but I'm telling you, keep doing what you're doing, folks. Just keep doing what you're doing. And you guys are up for re-election. And it's going to be really interesting what the people of Portland do with you. If I had my way, I'd recall both of you, and I hate recalls. I just hate them. But I would do it. This council is a shame, absolute shame, because you do not stop this guy. You do not stop the police department, and you could. Parliamentary procedure allows you to do it. Study it. Figure it out. You can override this guy anytime
Thank
you
you.
want.
Your time is
And
now
you know
up.
that.
Is there any other
Or
public
if you
testimony
don't
on
know
this
it,
item?
Why don't you learn?
Mr. Walsh, you're out of order. Mr. Walsh, you're out of order, and I don't want to have to ask you to leave.
Oh my God, fuck your order. Here's my exclusion.
No.
Take it. Giving more money to Homeland Security and the fucking cops.
No, they're
Give
giving us money for emergency
We're accepting.
preparedness, so we can prepare the community. No, you didn't read before you came down here to testify. You should at least know what you're testifying on. Excuse me, sir, you're excluded. You're gonna have to leave.
You're out of order.
No, you are.
You're a criminal. You tried to kill me, you idiot. You tried to kill me. Why did you do that? You were in the clan.
Why don't we take a 3-minute recess while everybody calms down? Excuse me. Security, could you please, security, get rid of them, please. Security, please have them removed ASAP.
Yeah, we're moving. And you'll never get the decision in federal court. I'll bet you do move.
You know what? Please leave. Thank you. If you can't participate in a mature manner, you're going to have to leave. That's the rule. I'm sorry. So any rate, back to the order at hand. Now that we've completed public testimony, can you please call the roll on item 670?
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Daly.
Could we just address a couple things very briefly? First of all, just for those of you watching at home, we actually do train community members to perform emergency services through our Nets program. And if anyone's interested in that, please look it up. We just did, I believe, the largest Nets training in the U.S., 400 or 500 Portlanders. Secondly, I just want to clarify that these are grants that we are accepting for emergency preparedness and resiliency. We are not giving money to Homeland Security, and
You know, folks, I'm sorry. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess, please. Mr. Walsh is not cooperating. Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Sorry.
Portland City Council in a moment. Okay, we are reconvened as the Portland City Council. A little bit of a disruption there. Nothing we can't handle. We were in the middle of a vote. Carla, can you remind me which items we were in the
We are
process?
on 670, 671, and 672.
And 670, 671, and 672. Those are all emergency ordinances. We do not have a quorum. So what I will do is close the public record on those items, but we'll continue those items to the time when we have Commissioner Fish here back in about 15 minutes. Next, what we will do is hear from the Office of Neighborhood Involvement on two items that were pulled from the consent agenda, items 665 and 676. If you could read the items, we'll hear from the staffs, we'll take testimony, and we'll withhold the vote. We'll continue those items until we have a quorum.
Did you want them read together or
665 and 676.
read them together? Okay.
Read them together.
665, amend fee schedule for the Office of Neighborhood Involvement Noise Control Program. And 676, authorize a grant agreement with Northeast Coalition of Neighborhoods, Inc. for $90,000 to provide cleaning services as part of the overall management of Inner Northeast East Side Industrial Clean Start PDX project.
All right, 665. We have some people from the Office of Neighborhood Involvement here and patient.
How you doing?
Well, how are you doing today?
President of the council, Paul Van Orden,
Paul, is your mic on?
I had it down just a moment. It should be good.
Paul Van Orden, the city's noise control officer, to speak to the first item. The city's noise office has been looking for ways to fund some of our staffing challenges. And last year, we examined some opportunities for pretty notable fee increases. And after examining the impact on many of our partner agencies like ODOT and even the city agencies, we backed off from that idea. So currently, with all of the change going on at ONI, we have moved forward just a basic 5% fee increase for the noise variance fees, which have been doing very well for our program the last several years. And then we will be re-examining what is our best mode to move forward to help fund the noise office and get more staffing. So right now, we're just looking for a basic 5% fee increase. Then we will re-examine what tools we have at the table to help get more staff in the noise office. And just as a talking point, the city's noise office is one of the only entities that since 1976 has not increased in size. We're actually a little bit smaller than we were in 76. So we are definitely in a mode in serving 600,000 plus people with 3.5 FTE that we're going to try and find some way to find some innovative tools to fund the office. And so that's where we're at currently.
Paul, thank you. And I want to reflect that capacity shortfall that you've been working with. And I think you've been doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
We've obviously had a lot of testimony about noise and other related issues because of the incredible amount of development and construction that's taking place in the city, and you guys have done a fantastic job, and I just want to acknowledge that. I don't know if the individual who pulled this is actually present. Do we have,
Yes.
Is Mary? Very good. Come on up, Mary.
Mayor, I did
Commissioner
have
Daly.
some introductory talking points, but I could save them for after, I guess.
Very good.
Okay.
Before Carla starts the clock, Mary Sipe, I'd like to ask for my full 3 minutes after sitting through almost 14 minutes of one individual testifying, cutting into my time. May I have my full 3 minutes?
Go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we're still waiting for the commissioner anyway.
In fact, I wish everybody was here. I support this request for a 5% increase to the existing noise variance fee schedule only as an emergency measure. Simply increasing the fees by 5% does not adequately address the inequities of the structure of the fee schedule. In September of 2015, I was appointed to a noise task force convened by Commissioner Fritz to consider specific changes to Title 18, the city's noise code. One of the issues Commissioner Fritz asked the task force to consider was a cost recovery model to fund additional staff through increased noise variance fees. As a member of the task force, I did extensive research and analysis of the fee schedule. I prepared a proposal to revise the structure of the fee schedule to provide more equitable assessment of fees for various types of noise and generate additional revenue. Unfortunately, the noise task force got bogged down and never got around to addressing this issue before their final meeting in November of 2015. So in March of 2016, I decided to share my proposal with Teresa Marchetti. As it turned out, Teresa was in the process of reviewing an increase in the fee schedule. She was supportive of my recommendations and told me that I'd saved her a lot of time. In April of 2016, a revised noise variance fee schedule, which Paul referred to, was presented to the Noise Review Board. It was projected that the revised schedule could generate as much as maybe $90,000 or more in increased revenue for the noise control program. The proposal was almost exclusively everything that was in my proposal, and I was excited to see that. After outreach to stakeholders, a special public meeting, the proposed revised fee schedule seemed to be moving forward. Then, in April of 2016, the Noise Control Office advised City Council that they would simply be requesting a 15% across-the-board increase to the existing schedule. I believe that one of the concerns, as Paul mentioned, was the fees that would be imposed on other city agencies, such as PBOT, and I do believe that that can be addressed much like the parks permits have been addressed, and so I hope that doesn't go away just for that reason. The Noise Control Office did tell the City Council that in the fall of 2016, they'd be conducting a tracking study of actual staff time costs associated with the variance process to present to City Council in the spring. Was that study conducted? Is the noise control program still looking at revising the fee schedule? Is this just an interim step with this 5%? It sounds like it is. Over the years, oversight of the noise control program has been passed from BDS to ONI to Mayor Hales, back to ONI under Commissioner Fritz, then to Commissioner Udaly, now under Mayor Wheeler, with a new interim director and in the future, a new director. All this bouncing around and change of leadership appears to me has resulted in a lack of continuity and oversight, with many false starts and stops in reorganizing and redesigning processes, and no serious attention being given to the underfunding and understaffing of the noise control program. How's that for 3 minutes?
Perfection. Well done.
Thank you.
You bet. And so that's that item. Is there any other public testimony on that item, 665? Okay, we will continue that 665, Paul, until Commissioner Fish is here so that we can take the proper quorum vote. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
And 676, is there somebody who wanted to speak briefly on that subject? Here he comes, another very patient team from the Office of Neighborhood Involvement. Thank you.
676, authorize a grant agreement with Northeast Coalition of Neighborhoods, Inc. for $90,000 to provide cleaning services as part of the overall management of the Inner Northeast East Side Industrial Clean Start PDX project.
And could I just ask who pulled this item?
This was, sorry, Mr. Lightning.
Okay, so he's not here, but since you're here and you've been very patient, I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
So I'm Adam Lyons from Northeast Coalition of Neighborhoods.
I'm Kate Merrill from the Central East Side Industrial Council.
Jessica Rojas, Northeast Coalition of Neighborhoods.
Do you want to start?
So this project kind of was born out of an idea that came from the Elliott neighborhood. They've been working for years with the Moda Center to hammer out a good neighbor agreement, and the Moda Center was generous enough to give them a little start, but not enough. They wanted to hire day laborers to do litter patrol in their neighborhood, and personally I find that problematic, to not pay people a living wage, not even a minimum wage, to come and pick up litter in a neighborhood that they may never ever live in. So we started looking further out, and Adam is just innovative in his ability to reach out and create some pretty cutting-edge relationships. So I'm going to let Adam talk about the next piece.
Yeah, so we reached out to Central City Concern about their Clean and Safe program that goes on downtown. I'm sure you're familiar with it, vocational rehabilitation. And so we kind of hybrided it, and we are working with Central East Side Industrial to bring a pilot project called Clean Start PDX, which is one full-time, one FTE, to basically clean about a square mile of some of Central East Side Industrial, the Lloyd District, and also Elliott. And this would be a year pilot program, and the idea long-term is to hopefully replicate it throughout the East Side, especially areas that are getting that have kind of visible livability issues, like I think Central East Side Industrial has experienced and Elliott has expressed that they've been experiencing. So, Kate.
Yeah, we were very happy when Adam came to us because this is something that we had already been thinking about. We had been in conversation already with Central City Concern, and this really gives us some leverage as we try to find some long-term sustainable solutions for a clean and safe district. One thing that's great about Central City Concern and this project is that we will have one point of contact who will be going around these neighborhoods and will be our eyes and ears for the neighborhood. We've seen a lot of increased drug use in the neighborhood and a lot of trash dumping. We just had a Solve event and picked up over 1,000 pounds of trash with 60 volunteers, yeah.
That's impressive, thank you.
So it's our hopes that by bringing in a clean and safe worker to these neighborhoods, that they're going to be able to provide wraparound services to people who directly need it. So it's just more than just litter patrol, but it's about getting people connected with the resources they need, and also so that people who are vulnerable, they could see what might be on the other side.
Well, this is great, and I'm sorry that the individual or individuals who pulled this program didn't stick around for the testimony. And again, this is our third or fourth or maybe fifth ordinance today that speaks to the concerns that they have been levying towards this city council in fairly direct terms. So I just want to say how much I appreciate the innovation that went behind this and the fairness angle that you're putting on this in terms of family waged jobs. I think that's great, and I'm super appreciative of this. I don't know, colleagues, if you have any more comments on this or if there's any public testimony on this item. So one individual, Paul, like to come up and speak a piece on this? Thank you.
Yeah.
Paul Van Orden. I'm actually going to take a liberty. I'm
Please.
On my lunch break at the moment, and just want to say, as the president of the board at Northeast Coalition, I am most excited at the innovative programs that our staff are pulling together, and just want to thank council for support as we move forward. I think you're going to be very pleased with the ways that we're trying to build community and transform Northeast Coalition and neighbors into a new entity unlike we've seen in the past. So thank you very much for the support.
That's great work. Great.
I'd just like to thank everyone who sat out this lengthy session to give testimony and say how impressed I am with the Northeast Coalition of Neighborhoods and all our neighborhood coalitions. They're all doing really innovative, vital work in our community, and I'm pleased to see this moving forward.
Very good. And again, these are emergency ordinances, so we won't be able to take a vote just yet. But I want to thank you for coming in and providing that clarification. So the public record on these two items, 665 and 676, are closed. We'll continue these items until we have a quorum. Next up, 683, please.
Accept a grant in the amount of $2,877,000 from Oregon Department of Transportation for Flanders Crossing Active Transportation Bridge.
Very good. Thank you for your patience. Commissioner Saltzman.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been a long time coming. We have before us the opportunity to complete an important active transportation vision directly connecting Northwest Portland with the Central City along Northwest Flanders Street across the 405 freeway. This project has been on the books and so in our active transportation plan for over 2 decades. And it's a true pleasure to be a member of the council that will finally make it a reality. Here to tell us more about it is transportation planner Zeph Wagner. If you walk us through the project, appreciate it.
Yeah, my name is Zeph Wagner. I'm a planner at the Portland Bureau of Transportation. And I've been involved in developing and trying to get funding for this project for several years, so I'm just delighted to be here as we present you with an ordinance to accept the IGA with ODOT so we can get started on design and construction. So I just wanted to do a short presentation running through the project. I know we have some new faces since the last time we came to City Council with this project with the grant application. So like I said, this is an IGA with ODOT for construction of a new pedestrian and bicycle-only bridge across I-405, connecting Flanders Street across the freeway. The IDA provides $2.9 million in Connect Oregon funds for the project, and then transportation system development charges would be funding the remainder of approximately $6 million project. So the need for this project has been in plans for a long time. The crossings at Everett and Gleason are very challenging. There's on-ramps, off-ramps, same at Burnside and Cooch. There's missing sidewalks. Very challenging for pedestrians. The bike connections are not really all ages and abilities friendly. There's very busy traffic. And really, I-405 has divided the neighborhoods ever since it was built. You know, this trench cut through, and it's arguably at its worst north of Burnside because of all those ramps. So this project would be building a new pedestrian and bicycle-only bridge. And you know, we've started a tradition in Portland of doing this. We built a car-free bridge across the Tilcomb Crossing across the Willamette. And this is similarly a car-free bridge across sort of a concrete river. The project would build a bridge and also signalized crossings at 16th and 14th to create a really all ages and abilities friendly bike and pedestrian route.
Could I ask you a sort of silly question while I've got the schematic up there? It appears that the bridge crosses in the middle of the street and on Flanders. So it's offset to the crosswalks. Is that intentional?
Yeah, we would be building transition points. We felt like a 60-foot wide bridge would be just too expensive. So I'll show a cross-section of what it would look like.
Good enough.
But we could have some transition points. Notably, we would also build this to be seismically safe, to be a lifeline route in case of an earthquake. So it'd be built to be able to handle emergency vehicles. So we went through an alternatives analysis at PBOT, looked at a lot of different criteria, trying to balance making a bridge that could be future-proof, serve the demand that grows in the future, but also be cost-effective. And so we looked at everything from sort of a 12-foot wide bridge to a 60-foot wide bridge. We settled on this as our preferred concept, a 24-foot wide truss bridge with separation between bikes and pedestrians, because that's something that's come up a lot, is needing that adequate separation. It's also wide enough, like I said, that an emergency vehicle could drive down the center if it had to. And this is obviously subject to change based on the design and engineering process. We'll be doing public outreach and letting the public inform the design of the bridge. And I want to put this in context. This is just a piece of a long-planned neighborhood greenway route that would connect all the way from 24th Avenue to the Steel Bridge with crossings at major streets, sort of traffic calming to provide a really nice, calm alternative for people walking and biking. And it's connecting an area of major growth to our biggest job center. There's high concentrations of affordable housing in these areas, and we've also invested a huge amount in bike town stations in the Northwest and the Central City, and so we want to make it, what we've heard is that people don't have enough comfortable and safe routes to get between there. I just want to highlight the huge public support that we got for this project during the grant application process. This is showing the logos of various neighborhood associations, business associations, Legacy Medical Center, private employers, these kinds of things. And we just got a huge outpouring of support. People are very excited about this project. And I just wanted to leave you with this. This just came in my inbox a couple days ago. It was a Pedalpalooza ride. And I think it's just indicative of the excitement about this project. I think this is the project I hear most about from people. People are always asking me, when's it going to happen? I've heard about this. Please build it. And so people are very excited about this. And so we'd love to get the ball rolling.
And are we building a new bridge, or are we reusing a bridge?
This is a brand new bridge.
Brand new bridge. Okay.
Yeah, you may recall about 10 years ago there was.
Where's the Savion Island Bridge?
Yeah, there was I think that's been fully recycled at this point. I'm not sure where the pieces went, but yeah, there was that attempt. We gave it some time, waited, for things to cool down, and then we looked at it again and decided the need is still there, and it's actually a lot more cost-effective to just build a new bridge.
Definitely.
So.
Okay. Good. Colleagues, any questions before we call for public testimony? Any public testimony on this item?
No one signed up.
Please call the roll.
Fish?
How long has this been in the Dan, has this been on the drawing board?
20 years, I think.
Yeah, it was in the Central City, the previous Central City plan before the one that we're looking at now. It's been in the transportation system plan since I think 2002. It was in the bicycle plan for 2030. So it's really been long recognized as a need.
Well, fantastic. Well, Commissioner Salzman's had Peabody for about 4 months and got it done. Not surprised. No. Congratulations to everybody who had a hand in this. Aye.
Saltzman?
Well, it is good to see this finally coming to fruition, and it will be a great improvement for pedestrians and bicyclists in our city. Aye.
You, Daly?
Almost makes me wish I still lived in Northwest Portland because all of those crossings over the freeway are pretty nasty for pedestrians and cyclists. I do hope that we can bring the same kind of innovation and resources to neighborhoods outside of the central city. Aye.
Wheeler?
Looks good. Aye. Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. So, colleagues, we have an individual who's been waiting patiently for 684. What I'd propose before we break for lunch, complete 684, since we have the quorum, take the quick votes on the items that we have carried over from previously without the quorum, and then call it a morning, if that works for everybody. Okay. So, could you please call 684?
Authorize the Bureau of Development Services to permit environmental remediation and Portland Bureau of Transportation to permit construction of the Southwest Meade Street interim improvements under the authority of the city engineer and without land use review approval.
And just before we start, the Bureau of Emergency Communications, you're here. Are you just waiting for the vote, or was there another item? You're not required to stay here for the vote unless you'd like to. You're certainly welcome to, but I didn't want you to think you had to sit here and wait for the vote. Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Kurt Kruger with the Portland Bureau of Transportation. We had a short slideshow. We had a little presentation. You guys had a long morning. We'll wrap this up quickly. A little less exciting than a bridge. We're talking about dirt in South Waterfront.
I'm sorry, I just committed a horrible faux pas, and I want to correct it before these guys leave and get the Bureau of Emergency Management. I apologize. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Thanks, Carla. The City of Portland Bureau of Transportation, in conjunction with Prosper Portland, has been underway with the construction of Southwest Bond Avenue and South Waterfront. The first stage of that project is placing a lot of dirt to consolidate the challenging soils in South Waterfront and waiting for that to settle before we come back and finalize the construction of a street. Likewise, OHSU is expanding their campus in South Waterfront and is looking at the next phase of Southwest Meade Avenue. They are facing the same challenges of soil that needs to consolidate for a number of months so it actually doesn't settle when the new street is built. We hope to share contractors between each other, and one of the hiccups that we've ran into is the current city code requires design review and greenway review when we move more than about 5 truckloads of dirt. So what the ordinance here before you, and I believe you had an amendment that was introduced in your packages earlier this week, just a minor code clarification referencing the right code that we're asking you to approve waiving, removes that requirement for that design review and greenway review for the movement of dirt in South Waterfront. We're not waiving any other design review or greenway review for any buildings or trails or anything else in the future. This is more just to allow the construction of placement of dirt on Southwest Meade Avenue. Michael Harrison and Mike Buckwitz are here from OHSU to answer any questions you have, and the reason why this is an emergency is our contractor would like to move and start work for them.
Can you just explain to us, when you say that we're waiving design review of moving dirt, what would design review actually review?
You don't want to know.
What's the action that they would take?
Commissioner Fish, I think you hit on exactly why we're asking to waive this. We've gone back into the legislative history of the code, and there's not a good reason why there would be design review. There's no criteria that would align placing dirt up against a code review.
Okay. I think you made your case.
I think you just made the case very persuasively.
Yes.
Michael, since you're here, you got a lot of construction going on. So we've got the Knight Center. Mm-hmm. You've got the new building to the south of where I get my healthcare services. And you've got, I guess, a parking lot adjacent to that and a new building going up there.
We're at the Rood Family Pavilion, which will be 6
floors of parking, but above it will be 4 floors of patient housing. Half that will be run by the Ronald McDonald House, the other half that will be more for adult patients, many of them cancer patients.
It's really amazing when I rode my bike the other day down there, and you had the 3 construction projects plus Zidell's last barge. In fact, my son said Riley, or my son Chapin said with a wry sense of humor, he said, "Has that barge always been there?" It is rather shocking to see that barge sitting there waiting to be launched. A lot of good stuff going, and somehow you managed to still make the parking for the public accessible. I don't know how you do that.
Well, Michael Harrison, OHSU, we really appreciate all the staff work from a variety of bureaus that came together to sort of iron out the wrinkle that would have required design review of a pile of dirt. And we really appreciate the longer partnership with the city where we're always sort of leapfrogging. Someone will develop something, then we need to work together to improve the transportation system to keep the flow of people in and out of the district, whether it's by transit, by bicycle, by car. And we're, again, in one of those steps now where Bond and Mead are sort of catching up with the development of buildings, but it's definitely a partnership between many partners, including us in the city, that keeps the system moving forward and allows us to continue to serve our patients. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Is there any public testimony on this item?
No one signed up.
Please call the roll.
The amendment? Somebody
I would move the amendment.
Sorry.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Saltzman moves the amendment. Commissioner Udaly seconds. Please call the roll on the amendment.
Fish?
Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaly?
Very pleased to give my blessing, save everyone some time and money by not doing design review on a pile of dirt. Aye.
Wheeler?
I sort of would have enjoyed seeing what that would look like. But that being said, I'm all for government efficiency. Aye. The amendment is accepted. Please call the
Is this an
main
emergency,
motion.
or
Yes.
does this go to, it is emergency?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fish?
When the mayor says he would have enjoyed seeing that, you know what he's actually just copped to. He would have looked forward to the appeal that came from design review to the city council.
Land use
And we would be convening here about a year from now, and Michael would be here crying his heart out and over the.
I would have been replaced.
No. Michael would have been calling in from his new retirement home somewhere outside the country. Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaly?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye. The ordinance is adopted as amended. Thanks, gentlemen, for your patience. So why don't we go through the votes in order that we took these? Could you start by calling the roll, please, on item 670?
Fish?
Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaly?
Aye.
Wheeler?
So before I cast my vote, I'm speaking to this and the next 2 items. We had a number of people come up and testify in opposition to these 3 items. I want to say why I strongly support all 3 of them. As was clearly illustrated by the situation in New Orleans, emergency management and emergency preparation are key obligations of a municipal government. And core to fulfilling that obligation is making sure that communities, all communities, are adequately prepared. That includes the first responders in terms of having the tools and the training that they require. It includes all of the government jurisdictional partners that require training as collaborative partners, as well as having the communications equipment and training that they need to collaborate successfully in the event of a widespread disaster. And importantly, it also includes preparing individuals, families, and neighborhoods. And I don't usually comment on public testimony, but I'm going to in this case. I was surprised that the public testimony was so at odds with the facts of these grants. And so I would simply say this again. I said it before. I think I was being shouted down at the time and being sworn at and whatnot. And I'm okay with that, but I want the public to hear this. You have every right to come to this microphone and to speak your mind in any way that you see fit. We don't edit people's commentary, but it would be helpful to at least read the item, before you comment, because there's a lot of people who watch on TV, and they may be confused by what they're hearing if the testimony just doesn't dovetail at all with what the items are. And finally, we respect the right of citizens under the charter of this city to be able to pull any consent agenda item off of the agenda, and we respect that right. But there is a responsibility that comes with that right. When we call in staff members from all over the city to come here and testify on items that have been pulled, in some cases just a few minutes prior, I would at least ask people to have the courtesy of being in the chamber and hearing the testimony that they're providing, rather than running in at the last minute and then speaking just flat out falsehoods about what the agenda item is. I think as adults in a civic discourse, we can all figure out how to make this work. But I frankly thought what we saw today was disrespectful to the public employees of the city of Portland. I thought it was disrespectful to the other people who came to provide testimony and be heard in this chamber. And as was duly noted, this city council has established clear rules and clear codes of conduct that we enforce uniformly to everyone. So I strongly support this, because I don't want to be the next New Orleans when we have an emergency on our hands. I want our community well prepared, the first responders, the city, our regional partners, our communities, and our families. And these grants from the federal government enable us to be ready when the time comes. So I vote aye, the ordinance is adopted. Next item, 671, please. Call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the ordinance is adopted. Please call 672. Call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the ordinance is adopted. Please call 665.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaley.
I want to thank Mary Sipes for coming today and giving her testimony. She told a story that I am hoping that we will hear a lot less of, which is of citizens putting in their time and energy and expertise and not having their work valued or implemented. I would like to see the noise office getting closer to full recovery. I believe we have some kinks to work out on our way there, but in the meantime, I vote aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. And last but not least, 676, please.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the ordinance is adopted. So colleagues, that left a rather lengthy to-do list. I'll let staff sort it out, and we'll figure it out later.
We didn't do consent agenda, did we?
We did do the
We did,
consent agenda.
okay, sorry.
Yes, we did.
I missed that.
So with that, we're adjourned until 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Well said.